When you are.
Okay. All right. We're live, I believe. Live 5x5. Let me make sure that it's going here. Live. Okay. All right. Good evening, everybody. No intro. I was just cutting an intro. You all cut into my cutting intros time. I didn't even get to put on a Canadian flag in the background. I was going to change one of my flags. Anyways, hope everything is going well with everybody. We've got Adrian back in the house, so great to see him. I'm just going to run through and say hello to everybody, if you don't mind, Adrian.
Go for it.
Okay, and we'll get to say hello to you. All right, so we have Lynn. Lynn's in the house. We also have Tommy Gunn. Catch this tomorrow. He's at work. Okay, hopefully you have a good shift. We've got Tara. Tara's in the house. Awesome. We have Canada Girl 1973. Old vid songs from your live stream. Your live stream intros are always so. I don't do those. That was Steve. We've got Sad. There's no intro tonight because even though I found some very interesting Nova Scotia crossovers here, which I'm just going to throw on the table, not to sound crazy and tinfoily, but we'll just put it out there. Nova Scotia Citizen. Howdy, howdy. We've got Sad Mafioso. Right, I've already said that. Conspiracy's trying to make truckers look dumb. We've got Glenn B. What's happening? We've got Linda McDonald. Blue Nose. Terry. Labiche. Have I got that correct? Trudy's plane track to Berlin. Interesting. Okay. Don't know anything about that. Perhaps Adrian can fill us in on all that. Just say up yours. Howdy, howdy. How's the kid flying? Exactly. I put out a tweet yesterday. Somebody should call him in. He's breaking his own mandates. Oh, everybody's very talkative. I'm just kind of scrolling through. Sorry, everybody. Good evening, oh dear. Good evening. Good evening to our friend, oh dear. We've got Alex McLean. And, oh boy, lots of messages. And I'm sorry, I'm just going through them so quickly. I'm missing all kinds of good points here. We've got Chiang Love. And I think Michael Juba. We've got Cindy. It's Seamus. Kind of like, I was going to say something, but I won't. It's an old joke. Actually, you know that joke, don't you?
I think I know the one you're going to say.
Yeah. We've got Cindy. Cindy, hello, Cindy. Faye Knox. Nosy Scotian. We've got Todd. Lucky loves Beaver Timbits. You've got to change the name. Hermit. You don't have to change your name, Hermit. Clownadian News. Okay. Paul Kimber. Our brother Paul. How's it happening? Verna Jean. Lynn McGrath. Oh boy. Strawberry. Hello. NS44. Bye, Jordan. Seamus is. Oh, what? Oh, well, my apologies. Loretta. Anybody who has to go, I obviously am not trying to impede on anybody. Tiny Chaos. Susie. Sally Kenton. And I think we're good. Okay, now, thank you for bearing with me, Adrian. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I can't complain too much. How about yourself?
Busy.
I can imagine why.
How about you? What's going on with you? Nobody's seen you in a long time.
What's been going on with me?
Yeah. Anything exciting? Anything you want to share? Anything you don't want to share?
Well, the biggest, most interesting thing is, I mean, you can kind of see it, but baby.
Oh,
My wife had a baby back in December, so actually she's just temporarily with us on the show until she gets out of the shower. But that's the biggest thing for me. I got a little baby girl now.
Okay. Wow, that's so awesome. I think we're all really happy for you. Looks like you still haven't done anything with your beard either.
This glorious thing?
Does
You
she
want me
have?
to get rid of this? It's
Yeah.
awful. It's fantastic.
You know, my girlfriend said he needs to trim that. That's what she said because you were streaming, and she's like, "Wow, that's getting really bushy." I'm like, "No, it's still the same. It's still the same."
Wintertime, it grows right out. And then once the cold months are done, I'll trim it back down. But yeah, I always go for the Grizzly Adams look whenever it's wintertime.
Sorry?
I was just going to add, but it might not be a bad idea to trim it because I don't know if you know this. Apparently, babies like to grab things.
Babies do. Yeah, well, that must result in, I don't know, some pain, I would think, a little bit.
I've had more than a few hairs pulled out, so it may actually get trimmed up soon.
Well, that's good. Yeah, then you don't even need to get a trimmer. Just keep letting her mow it down for you.
There you go. Yeah, she's already paying her way. And
she didn't inherit the beard, did she?
I mean, I was a little disappointed that she didn't. If she got my wife's red hair, so that was a little bit disappointing. She was kind of screwed either way because my wife said if she didn't have red hair, she can't love her. And if she has red hair, I can't love her. So she's damned if she do. She's damned if she don't.
You gingers, you guys.
I only in the beard for me.
Okay, so wow, that's huge news. You're being asked what is her name? Do you wish to share that, or
her name's Nora?
Nora.
Wow. Couldn't decide on any boys' names, but the second we heard Nora, we both agreed on it. So, yeah, that's her name, Nora.
What's wrong with red hair, says Sad Mafioso.
Nothing wrong with red hair. It's just I take every opportunity to take shots at my wife, and she takes opportunities to take shots at me. So, one of the things I make fun of her for is her flaming red hair. I tell her she doesn't have a soul.
She doesn't have a soul.
She doesn't have a soul. Gingers don't have souls.
That's not a good way to start out life, is it?
It's okay. Our relationship is completely based on taking shots at each other. It's kept us together this long.
Okay. Now, you and I were speaking. What's your read? So, okay. You were present yesterday for the protest.
For the convoys? Yeah, I was down there.
Convoy. I'm not sure what the proper terminology is. We'll go with convoy. Convoy is the right one, right?
I don't think there's anything wrong with protest, but yeah, the convoy. I was downtown in the heart of it, right outside of Parliament Hill, as everything was going on. I got there around noon. I think around noonish or so.
Mm-hmm.
And I came up Bay Street, which is like on the one end of Wellington, right where the Supreme Court is. And I ended up making the trek all the way across, closer to almost where the Chateau Laurier is.
Mm-hmm.
And the entire streets was completely packed. Like I've been downtown on Canada Day, and I don't think I've ever seen this many people. I also don't think I've seen this many flags. So that was the thing that kind of stood out to me as all this was going on was the fact that this convoy has brought so many people out, more than I've ever seen, even on what is supposed to be the most patriotic day of the year for us. And it was kind of actually amazing to see. I mean, you had the you had your Canada flag, and then the next flag. Usually in protests like this, you got Canada flags, and since we're so close to Quebec, you got the fleur-de-lis flags. That wasn't the case this time. This time it was Canada flags, and the next top flag I was seeing was the Fuck Trudeau flag. So that apparently was a very popular brand for the people that were there.
Mm-hmm.
But when you got out in Wellington, right in front of Parliament Hill, you couldn't move. And I mean, I did put the live stream on, and the quality sucks. I think it was just, I'm not sure exactly why, but reception in that area was just crap. Maybe it was because so many people were using their phones, potentially. But even if you went one street over, quality got better. So I'm not sure what was going on there.
Mhm.
But yeah, like you can kind of see it is at one point, I'm kind of in the middle of it, and there's there's almost no movement. You couldn't go anywhere. So it was kind of amazing to see, actually. Kind of made me feel a little good, kind of made me feel like there's actually some possibility of some change coming.
Right.
And I was actually glad I could be a part of it, like it kind of seemed like a bit of a historical moment.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And everyone that I did meet there, I'm not even the most like social guy, but everyone that I did meet there was actually in a pretty good mood. We're pretty friendly and everything like that. I didn't have any complaints with the people that I came across over there. Everyone was sort of letting each other go if they had the opportunity. People were, they were talking to each other, they were laughing. It seemed like people were genuinely happy to be out there yesterday. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, I wonder who is doing the flags. I'd like to, because those flags just there's a lot of them. I don't know anything about them. I don't know where you get them, or not that I think I'll be buying them, but it'd be interesting to see who's all that's associated with. But I'm sure there's. Do you know anything about that?
No, I can't say I really looked much into, like, I assume you're talking about the Trudeau flags.
Yes.
I didn't really think much of it because I'd only seen a handful of them over time until yesterday when I was out there and I realized just how many there were. So I can't really say for sure who's making them or where they're selling them. I mean, actually, I'd be a little curious to check out Amazon and see if they're even just selling them on there, but I'm not sure. But yeah, wherever people were getting them from, there was a whole lot of them outside. Let's see.
Baynox says Amazon, but they're sold out. So there's an interesting question there. I don't know if you want to touch that one.
Looks like there are a lot of them that are sold on Amazon.
There's a question in the chat.
What was it?
Who is BJ Dichter?
Oh, BJ Dichter? Well, from what I know about BJ Dichter, if anyone is familiar with the term grifter, somebody who kind of attaches themselves to a movement, and usually it's for monetary gain for themselves. Sometimes it's to get more popular. He is the definition of that. BJ Dichter is kind of throws himself into every single movement that he can possibly find, tries to put himself at the head of it. But the time I really took notice of him was a few years ago when it turned out that he, behind the scenes with a lot of content creators on YouTube, he was actually paying them to push certain narratives and talk about certain topics. I know that I don't think she was a part of it, but someone who was approached by that, I think, was Amazing Polly. If I remember, yeah, she was approached by Dichter, but she didn't end up going through with it. There's a few other YouTubers that were sort of on his payroll, if you want. I know One Godless Woman was one of them. And that's sort of who BJ Dichter is. I mean, he ended up making an appearance on Tucker Carlson to talk about what was going on with the convoy. And actually, I found another clip. Apparently, he was also on Glenn Beck.
Okay, interesting.
So he was making the rounds on all these different cable news channels and talking about his involvement with the convoy. And he basically came in as a coordinator for the funds when they were raising all these funds for all of these truckers and everything. So that's basically who BJ Dichter is. I'd have to do a little more research before I can give you more specifics on him, but I've taken a little bit of a look at him. And he's a lot of people that have come across him don't seem to trust him. So, and I can't say I blame him. Like I said, like someone like him is the definition of a grifter.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely heard the name before, so that it wasn't news to me. I don't know a terrible amount other, like kind of some of what you said. I had heard that he had contacted a few people. I think he has some associations with Tom Quiggin.
Oh, that's right.
and Tom Quiggin is definitely connected heavily with intelligence and the LGBT Tory movement. And I think he's listed as his profession a jewel etcher or something to this. Do you know anything about that?
About the jewel etching?
Yeah.
Not too much, to be honest.
I think I'd heard that. I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but I think I'd heard that. And somehow out of the Tucker Carlson interview, there was a few things that kind of struck me about it. One, he kind of said, so he did run for councilman in Toronto, I believe.
I think so.
And he said that he has political, if I'm recalling correctly on the Tucker Carlson show, he said he has sources in the American and Canadian government and media, which I found kind of interesting. Yes, Quiggin is an interesting cat. So, I mean, I found his I feel like there's something more to the story with that. And all of this I want to preface with, I'm not trying to say what's happening in Ottawa by any stretch is a bad thing. It is absolutely has to happen in terms of peaceful vocalization of everybody's or a lot of people's the fringe minority, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Issues with what has been happening in this country. I'm not trying to say, oh goodness, this is terrible, but knowing everything and taking a deep breath, I think, is really important, and figuring out who's doing what, because intelligence is buried very deep in a lot of things.
Yeah. Sorry, say that again. What were you about to say?
I said intelligence is buried very deep in a lot of things. And, even through this process of kind of stepping smaller scale, but into the Nova Scotia stuff, I've absolutely been schooled, even though I kind of had a little bit of knowledge on intelligence in a larger scale. So what is your feel?
Well, I have no doubt that if we're in terms of talking about the convoy, I have no doubt that there are provocateurs that are inside of the crowd. We can kind of see by some of the stories that are already coming out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And in any sort of movement like this, any sort of protest, no matter how grassroots it is, there's always going to be people that are inserted into it. I mean, it just depends on the levels. Sometimes it may be local police. A lot of the times it's one of the alphabet agencies that are getting themselves into it in order to try and sow discord, make the movement look bad. And there's no, so yeah, you're right. There's definitely a lot of intelligence that's being played right now. And I know we're going to get more into the details, at least with this movement, of what it is. But even in the past, when we see a lot of the sort of grassroots protests that have taken off all over the world, there's always a hidden, invisible hand that's always sort of helping, trying to pull it in a specific direction.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I've talked about, with that in January 6th. I'm sure you have as well, and that's just one of the more recent situations where that's taken place. Anything that kind of threatens the status quo, they're going to do whatever they can to get in there and cover it up. And I think, and one of the main reasons for that really is just because I can't remember who said it. I think it was an American politician, but he basically said that if the people really knew what we got up to, they would kill us in the streets. And that sort of thing. Once you start to pulling on the one string and it all starts to unravel, we get to know what's really going on behind the scenes, what these people are really up to. And I think that's what scares them the most. During the press conference leading up to leading up to when the convoy was coming in, there was that press conference with Justin Trudeau.
Yes.
One thing about it is he looked legitimately worried in that to me. Like he looked like just something in the eyes and the way his face was. He seemed like he was legitimately concerned about what was going to come out of this. And I don't think he was necessarily concerned about somebody trying to run into the prime minister's office and trying to get him. I think he was concerned about if this convoy was going as far as they were planning to, that a lot of these dirty secrets were going to get out.
Yeah, absolutely. So we spoke earlier today on the phone about some things. Now I'm not ready quite to go. I did put together a small intro, which I have not yet finished. As per normal, I never seem to finish anything, but where am I here? How can I do this here?
Well, it sounds like people want to see it regardless of whether you finished it or not.
Who said that?
Linda.
Oh, no, that's not a... yeah. Well, I'm worried that there's going to be feedback. Okay, I'll mute my microphone. But I don't have it ready yet because there's pieces that I want to stop at and kind of go through a few things. And I know the things that you and I talked about, and it sounds like you found something that's a real doozy. So
yeah.
I'm really excited to hear about that. And I think, frankly, some of the other things we discussed this afternoon, people will be quite interested in. I've seen a couple of things come up about that. Okay, so let's do this then. If somebody can let me know that the sound is okay, that would be good.
Quick video here showing you CBC, showing a couple of people. Right? Look at this. Their camera, they're setting up to point in this direction. Remember that. Now let's turn around and show what's really happening here.
Trudeau, you're the worst Canadian ever. You're un-Canadian. Son of a bitch. Go back to Cuba where you belong.
I do ask that because, given Canada's support of Ukraine in this current crisis with Russia, I don't know if it's far-fetched to ask, but there is concern that Russian actors could be continuing to fuel things as this protest grows, but perhaps even instigating it from the outset.
Well, again, I'm going to defer to our partners in the public safety, the trained officials and experts in that area.
I want to express our sincere thanks to everyone who shared those memories with us. We're going to now join the memorial ceremony inside First United Church. That will begin with a moment of silence at 3 p.m. local time. If you're in Nova Scotia, we'll have live coverage of the day's events in Truro at 6 o'clock. For the rest of the country, please tune in to Global National this evening as we mark this difficult anniversary. Thank you for being with us.
Sorry, so there's a couple of things in here. This is Jeff Douglas. So it's interesting, again, these crossovers that seem to happen. Jeff Douglas did the ceremony for the first year anniversary, but yet also tied up with Jessica Davis, and Jessica Davis is tied up with stuff to do with the fundraising, and saying that I didn't insert that article yet, but the fundraising to do with the GoFundMe, she said that anybody who's donated money, she'll get into it here, but I didn't clarify that Jeff Douglas is in fact the person who's also doing the 1 year anniversary. Okay, fair enough.
And I've been away for a long time, but I graduated from CEC here, and this is and always will be the part of the world that I think of when I think of home.
Again, she's
Well, on Main Street this week, we've been talking.
Sorry, she's Jessica Davis. FinTrack to me seems as somebody who is basically, and not to downplay who they are, but they're glorified accountants. Would be my read. Forensic accountants. Would that be your feel, Adrian?
From what I can tell of them, yeah, I would say that's probably how it works. I can't say it was really an like I didn't take much notice of them before, but yeah, I think that was the best way of describing it.
Okay, so when I think of a glorified accountant, I don't think of somebody who is deeply embedded within CSIS. They don't really go together. Intelligence and CSIS are kind of separate entities, or is that just me?
No, I would say so. I mean, it would probably be a little closer. Like one I could see them a little more involved with would be the RCMP for financial crimes, but CSIS, I couldn't imagine why they would be.
And here we go with Tom Quiggin. Tom Quiggin, RCMP, CSIS. Okay, let's continue.
Talking about that truck convoy heading to Ottawa. The protesters are calling it a freedom convoy, and it includes truck drivers from across the country who oppose vaccine mandates, as well as other people who are against public health measures more broadly. There's also been some controversy about members of far-right groups using the protest for their own ends. We heard some of that we've heard some of that from Melanie Thomas from the University of Calgary yesterday on the show. A GoFundMe for the convoy has also raised more than $7 million. And we're going to talk about that fundraiser in a few minutes. First, though, earlier today, I spoke with Martin Broadman. He is a Nova Scotia truck driver, and he's the vice chair of the group Canada Unity, and he was on his way to Ottawa. How do you think this protest is shaping up right now?
I think it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. The support since we left Enfield yesterday. Every overpass is full of people. How this movement up.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I don't think I had the Zoom correctly there. They left from the big stop. Now, that again could just be coincidence, but interesting that that was where the convoy left from. It was the same big stop Wortman was killed at. I don't know. Interesting.
The people and this country, it's unbelievable. It's emotional.
and the blockade ban came in then, so that you can't have trucks in Nova Scotia or people watching any kind of protest from the road, which seems, again, interesting. Just came about yesterday. Okay.
It's emotional. I'm just coming up to your next overpass here, and the overpass is just full of people. Full of people.
How concerned are you about potential violence in Ottawa this weekend?
We're doing our utmost. We're working closely together with OPP. We're working closely together with Ottawa Police.
How so? What do you mean you're working with them?
We're very closely. We're in constant relationship with them. They know exactly our intent. We have a friendly relationship, even up to the Parliament Police Services. So yes, we're working very closely with them to make this event as safe as possible. And absolutely, we do not want to see a January 6th event here in Canada.
Okay, so I wanted to, those of you, January 6th has been floating around quite a bit about this, which all seems very convenient. One moment, please. So those of you who are not familiar with January 6th, I don't know, do you want to give an abridged explanation, Adrian? Adrian.
Sorry, I had my mic muted.
You're worse than me. You're worse than me.
Sometimes I am. So for those who don't know, bridge version, January 6th in January 2021 was a giant protest at the Capitol Hill in which protesters ended up entering the Capitol building. And even though at the end of it, the only person who was killed was one of the protesters, they pretty much been painting that as worse than 9/11 ever since. But the thing is that when you went back and reviewed the evidence, it became obvious that there were a lot of provocateurs in there, but even the narrative in it was that these people forced their way into the Capitol when the Capitol Police actually allowed them to enter. You can find videos of them removing the barricades, opening the doors, and letting the people flood in. And the people who were even in there were mostly walking around. They weren't really causing any sort of violence inside of there. There's a few small incidents, like when Ashley Babbitt got killed, which many, and myself included, saw as an unlawful shooting by the Capitol Hill security guard that was there. But ever since then, they've used this as try and paint it as an insurrection, even going as far as calling it a terrorist attack. And so this is what they're hoping for what's going on in Parliament right now.
Exactly. So, I mean, like, even the questions are leading by Mr. Douglas, like, the suggestion that this is going to turn. Jessica Davis's is her comment in one of the articles, I think it's the CBC one, is really interesting because it's even really prior to the protest even starting, and it's with the assumption that there's already been something horrendous that has happened. So given what Adrian has explained about January 6th, it's very interesting. I don't believe in the political system at all, but listening to Ted Cruz, because I think most of it is just an act, is very good and points out kind of intelligence's role in some of this. So maybe we can watch that.
To the FBI. How many FBI agents or confidential informants actively participated in the events of January 6th?
Sir, I'm sure you can appreciate that I can't go into the specifics of sources and methods.
Did any FBI agents or confidential informants actively participate in the events of January 6th? Yes or no?
Sir, I can't answer that.
Did any FBI agents or confidential informants commit crimes of violence on January 6th?
I can't answer that, sir.
Did any FBI agents or FBI informants actively encourage and incite crimes of violence on January 6th?
Sir, I can't answer that.
Ms. Sadburn, who is Ray Epps?
I'm aware of the individual, sir. I don't have the specific background to him.
Well, there are a lot of people who are understandably very concerned about Mr. Epps. On the night of January 5th, 2021, Epps wandered around the crowd that had gathered, and there's video out there of him chanting, "Tomorrow, we need to get into the Capitol, into the Capitol." This was strange behavior, so strange that the crowd began chanting, "Fed, Fed, 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 Fed." Ms. Sandburn, was Ray Epps a Fed?
Sir, I cannot answer that question.
The next day, on January 6th, Mr. Epps is seen whispering to a person, and 5 seconds later, 5 seconds after he's whispering to a person, that same person begins to forcibly tear down the barricades.
Now, the I didn't mute my microphone. Oops. Hopefully there's not an echo. The fence, from what I understood, actually was cut. Is that your understanding, Adrian?
I think I heard something about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point. Sad is that this kind of behavior occurs all over the place. Sorry if there is feedback. I'll mute my microphone this time.
Did Mr. Epps urge them to tear down the barricades?
Sir, similar to the other answers, I cannot answer that.
Shortly thereafter, the FBI put out a public post seeking information on individuals connected with violent crimes on January 6th. Among those individuals, in the bottom there, is Mr. Epps. The FBI publicly asked for information, offering cash rewards leading to information leading to the arrest. This was posted, and then sometime later, magically, Mr. Epps disappeared from the public posting. According to public records, Mr. Epps has not been charged with anything. No one's explained why a person videoed urging people to go to the Capitol, a person whose conduct was so suspect the crowd believed he was a Fed, would magically disappear from the list of people the FBI was looking at. Ms. Sandburn, a lot of Americans are concerned that the federal government deliberately encouraged illegal and violent conduct on January 6th. My question to you, and this is not an ordinary law enforcement question, this is a question of public accountability. Did federal agents or those in service of federal agent actively encourage violent and criminal conduct on January 6th?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, is Sandberg the same Sandberg from Facebook?
Sandberg?
Yes, this Sandberg, the former CEO of Facebook.
Oh, I don't know if that's, I don't know.
Sure.
You don't mean Zuckerberg, do you?
No.
Okay, so
Cheryl,
I'm not sure about
Cheryl
Sandberg. Yeah, I'm
it?
not sure about Sandberg and Facebook.
Sorry, COO. I don't know. Is that? I don't know if that's. I don't think it can be.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I couldn't tell you.
Be interesting if they were related. I don't know, but yeah, you know, the videos online of Mr. Epps, and then the interview. I'm sure you saw the interview of Epps down on his ranch.
A long time ago. I actually thought you were about to say the interview right before the night before the Capitol.
I'm not recalling that one. Interesting.
That one wasn't with a news source or anything. It was with another streamer. But in that one, that was one of the videos they have of him when he was calling for people to enter the Capitol.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they had because most everybody that has been arrested for the supposed January 6th insurrection, which of course was non-stop play on MSNBC, CNN, garbage intel. These organizations are all one and the same and worldwide, which actually I shouldn't even spider into right now, but they utilize this and then once again utilize it here. It's the same playbook that they always do. Here we got the Russian stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We also have the Ukrainian stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the Ukrainian stuff, interestingly enough, where did that fellow, the fellow who's doing the mass casualty commission, he used to be in Ukraine, and there's an individual I'm going to introduce in the future. Well, he had to go away then after that kind of blew up in his face. Figuratively, anyway. Ukraine, you know, you have Chrystia Freeland, who wrote the Constitution for the Ukraine, who's very good friends with George Soros. It's a very interesting relationship. But Epps was being interviewed on his ranch, you know, and everybody else is in solitary confinement. That doesn't even have contact with their lawyers, to my understanding. Yes, Mr. Epps, who was number one most wanted on that list, and he's just walking about free.
There's two people that I know that were involved with this that didn't end up getting. BlackRock owns both CNN and Fox. BlackRock also owns Canada, US, UK, Federal Reserve. Yeah.
BlackRock, that was the one I don't want to touch on, is BlackRock, because BlackRock owns Pfizer. They're the most major shareholders in most of the media organizations of the world. They're the most major shareholders in the testing companies. They all relate, which is a video I was going to do for another day, but I guess Todd beat us to it. So,
well, Todd's good.
We'll go through it though at some point. Yeah, and I mean these mutual fund companies, I mean, you put your money into it and you're like, well, somebody comes along and they're like, well, you get a 20% return on it. Well, yeah, but do you know how much it cost you in your real day-to-day living? As in, how much have you lost this, you know, last 2 years, say, in many people's cases? Is it worth the 20% that some people have put in? What about the people who have died as a result of drug overdoses? What about all the children who have permanent psychological damage? Or anyway, I'm not going to go off into all that now. I think I had some more to do with the interview on that intro that I was kind of setting up. Yeah, let's listen to the rest of it. Might as well. I don't think it's terribly long. Do you mind, Adrian?
No, let's go for it.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Mr. Broadman, there are reports that some of the people who are heading to the protest are sharing the addresses, the personal home addresses of members of parliament. Have you heard that?
Where is the proof of that? Where's the proof of anything? Just like Lisa Banfield, where's the proof? We're going to get into some of the proof on some other things that Adrian and I were talking about this afternoon, but you know, where's the proof that people are sharing addresses? These claims that just seem to come out of nowhere. Crazy. I can't make the graphic full screen. Sorry.
I'm not aware of that, actually, no. Certainly not from our movement. Certainly not from Canada Unity or Truckers United. They have that proven over and over the past 3-4 months.
Those are people who are apparently heading to Ottawa for the weekend to join you guys. I just wonder if you've reflected on, or if you're concerned at all that the movement has grown beyond the truckers to something that might be out of your control.
Well, but we have police services for that. Movements are movements. And when people stand up and fight for the right and fight for their freedom I'm a proud Canadian today. And yes, they stand up for the rights of freedom at home. So these truckers and the people who stand up today, they're going to be the future veterans of this country. We fight for the people at home.
The movement that you're talking about has raised $6 million on GoFundMe already. Are you surprised by that amount?
Oh, absolutely. It shows how supportive Canadians are.
Where will that money go?
To the truckers, to the fuel, to their food.
How much will each trucker get?
Each trucker gets whatever they put in on the receipt. It's very well controlled by an independent accounting team, which we have no access to.
Who is the independent accounting team?
Tamara Lynch.
And what happens to the rest of the money?
We have whatever is not used from the rest of the money goes to the Veterans Memorial Fund.
That is Martin Broadman. He's a truck driver from Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, also vice chair of the group Canada Unity. For more on this, we have reached Jessica Davis. She's a former CSIS analyst and current president of Insight Threat Intelligence, a global security consulting company. And she's in Ottawa. Jessica, welcome to Main Street.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
What did you make of what Martin Broadman had to say about this fund, where it's going and how it will be spent? It's grown to more than $7 million since I spoke to him.
Yes, I'm looking at it right now, and it's $7.2 million. I think that some of his assurances came off as a little bit vague, to be fair. The independent accounting team that he mentioned is actually the organizer of the GoFundMe, one of the two listed organizers of the GoFundMe. And that's an individual with ties to the Maverick Party out in Western Canada, formerly the Wexit Party, so a separatist organization. And as far as I know, there's...
So that's going to be BJ. Is that BJ Dichter, who's the separatist organization? Are you muted again?
Yeah, I'm muted again. God damn. BJ Dichter. Yeah, I believe that's who they're talking about.
Okay, because I wonder. I'm just going to throw that out on the table because. You can kind of play both sides, right? That was that tweet that I sent out earlier today from CSIS, who was actively recruiting double agents within our own society. I mean, could that be a BJ Dichter? Is that possible?
At least someone like him. I think it's possible that he could be him. But yeah, his sort of personality is exactly what they're looking for. They're looking for some type of people who are charismatic, who have what I would call a very flexible moral compass. It actually is kind of reminiscent to in a lot of. No, it is Tamara. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
But even so, it's very reminiscent to what we've seen in the past in other countries where they ended up using the public in order to spy on each other. I mean, with what we were seeing earlier on with COVID, this is exactly the type of thing that they were doing. So yeah, these are the type of people that they're looking for. Someone who easily will turn on their neighbors just to get a little bit ahead themselves.
Yeah, and what better way? This is the way that intelligence works, is that you subvert from inside.
Mm-hmm.
And you get in on it right away, which is some of the stuff we're going to talk about. At least throw out there as possibilities on a couple. But if you play both sides, then you can kind of build your own narrative and do with it what you want.
No, absolutely. I mean, the strategy of getting people on the inside is the best way, because people are very it doesn't matter whether you're a part of a movement or not, but people are very suspicious when they see outside influence that's trying to affect it. But if it seems like it's coming from the inside, well, we can see already how they're doing this with the convoy. They're trying to drive a wedge, and not just with the people involved in the convoy, but the people who are outside of it perceiving it. They see some of the details that were some of the situations that we're going to get into. not to give any spoilers, but they see this and then it starts putting a bad taste in their mouths because of it.
Yeah, sorry, and I just had a flashback. My mind's always going different places. I apologize, but aside from the fact that he had sources inside, aside from the fact that he claimed to be a trucker, which I'm not sure he is or not. What was the other thing BJ Dichter said? Oh shoot, it just went through my head and it's gone. Balls. Okay, maybe it'll come back to me. Let's continue.
No other independence to that accounting. And then also in terms of the veterans organization that he mentioned, the Veterans Memorial Fund, as far as I know, there's actually no organization named that in Canada. There's certainly no registered charitable organization under that name in Canada. So it's these details that have me a little bit concerned.
Right. The money is being raised so fast. So many people are joining in such a short period of time. How does that, just those two things, how does that appear? How do you analyze that, intelligence agencies, when it comes to security?
Well, at this point, there's actually very little to analyze because the information that's listed on the GoFundMe website isn't verified in any kind of way. So as we've seen, and I think some media have reported on this, it's possible, and people have done this, they've made donations in other people's names, including people who absolutely do not support the convoy. So to analyze that information, you're really not working with any verifiable information at all. We do see many, many anonymous donations. There are some people who are donating who claim to be outside of Canada. So that raises some concerns for me in terms of potential foreign influence.
Here we go again with the Russiagate stuff, which I could go off on ad nauseum. But I mean, why is it that because this is a worldwide problem, so only Canadians could donate to that?
I mean, that's never been the case. I mean, even when she's going back, she's talking about, people could make donations in other people's names or do it anonymously. That's always been the case with GoFundMe. That's nothing new. And there's been plenty of other activist campaigns that have gone through GoFundMe, and apparently that's never been an issue until right now. People around the world have plenty of reasons to have an interest and want to support the convoy of what's going on. I mean, we saw how all over the world now, other countries are starting to do their own convoys. There's talk about in the U.S.
Yes.
I know Australia's getting one going. I think I even heard that Italy was getting one going as well.
Bolivia's come out.
Bolivia.
Came out. And of course, then all across Canada in different cities and the borders, Coots border, there's a lot of the Americans down in the States. There's a bunch of them that participated in this. So, I mean, to say because people funded a problem which faces humanity, from the goodness of their heart, I don't think that. And then to go as far to say what she did in CBC. Do I have that article here? Yes, here I do. Okay. I wanted to put that into this. Okay. So this was written on the 27th. So that would be Friday? Thursday. So the protest hasn't even been really technically, they're going across the country, but it is not in Ottawa. And she goes by Jess Davis here. Okay, fine. Jess Davis, president of Insight Threat Intelligence and author of a book on terrorist financing, said that while she thinks the chances of violence on Saturday are low, who's sowing this? You sow the seeds that there's going to be violence. Those who've donated to the GoFundMe need to be aware of the risks. quote, were likely donating for what they thought, past tense, was going to be a peaceful protest. Well, it hasn't. Nothing violent has occurred. In fact, it hasn't even really happened yet. So why is she going with the sowing the seed of what they thought was going to be a peaceful process? She said, if it turns violent, I think there's actually going to be a very small chance that it will happen. But if it does, they will have funded a violent protest. The bigger piece here is that Canadians need to understand that funding political violence is of this kind is actually a criminal offense.
Yep, I remember seeing that.
That's right out there, man. So, I mean, I was thinking about this, and you could extend that same argument then, if this is what we're supposed to believe, that funding anything that then turns nasty, well, goodness, you wouldn't want to donate to any political party, any candidate, anything like that, because, well, I don't know, maybe there's a war, or, you know, drones dropping bombs on somebody that's innocent.
I mean, we could even, if that's sort of the logic they're going on, it doesn't even have to be on such a large political scale. One of, I think it may be dying in popularity now, but I do know that it's still around, are you familiar with IRL streaming?
Well, IRL is in real life. I don't know. I don't know. No.
There are people who go around like outside in the public, streaming what they do. Usually have like a Bluetooth speaker connected to them, so people can donate with text to speech. A lot of those situations a lot of those streamers are based on drama, so it's not uncommon for them to get into fights on the street. You could make the argument too that if you were even donating to them, that you could make that same argument that you are making a criminal activity because you're financing a crime in progress. So it's like, it doesn't even have to be taken on such a political scale, but it can even be taken down to a minor scale such as that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a totally illogical statement. Basically, you should never give money to anything at all. I mean, you could go really warped with that and say you buy a product and a company does something bad. What the bus hits somebody and you paid your bus fare. What does this mean? And you sow the seeds like what they thought was going to be a peaceful protest, and it hasn't even taken place. This is Looney Tunes. Okay.
Well, I mean, another way we can look at it too. Right now, the Mars company is in a lawsuit for what was it, like human? Oh, what was it? Human slavery lawsuit. I think right now. Hold on, let me double check.
Okay, this is for the chocolate stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Mars lawsuit 2022. What was it? It's not human trafficking. They face a child slavery lawsuit in the U.S. So basically, if you've ever bought M&Ms or you've bought like Nesquik or you bought a Mars bar, then apparently you are just as guilty of financing child slavery, and that's a criminal offense. So you could be potentially facing charges for that. Like, this is how ridiculous it goes when you actually try and analyze what she's saying.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have to bring something logical and legal to the table. She goes on to say some other pretty interesting things in there. I mean, she admits that if the violent turns protest, then the GoFundMe could be in a bit of a tricky legal situation. I would love to see that in court be proven.
If the violent turns protest?
If the protest turns violent, my
I know what you meant.
My apologies. And she did go on then to talk about the memorandum. Somewhere in here, she said, was it in this one? She spoke about the memorandum, and she said that it was purely preposterous. I mean, yeah. Anyways, It's
It's something like the memorandum. Like, we're talking about their list of demands, right?
the list of demands, yes, or
Yeah.
you know,
Well, even
sorry.
I was just going to say, even when I looked at that and what their list of demands were, to me, it seemed pretty obvious what they're doing. They were saying either all of government resigns or, you lift the mandates. It seemed to me like it's the classic negotiation tactic where you put something up that's sort of a little bit ludicrous because you're willing to concede on that. And then it's like, okay, well, we'll go for the next best thing, which is what you're really looking for. They're not expecting government to resign. Government's not going to resign. So lift the mandates. There you go. And then we'll go home. No big deal. People I found took the idea of getting government to resign a little too literally. And to me, I just, right as I saw that, that's just what it seemed to be for me. It's like this or this, lifting the mandates, you keep your jobs, we go home, win-win for everyone.
Yeah, and this is, you might as well put things out on the table because technically it's a negotiation position, which even of itself, this is really sad, the position that we're stuck into, that essentially we are imperiling our own well-being, as in this plays into their hands in a lot of ways, right? The powers that be that really rule this world, not the politicians who are just puppets or the intelligence who are just kind of foot soldiers for them, but imperiling our food supply, making our life worse. This is so we crush ourselves into it, and then it's a game of chicken. Like, this is, again, silly. I did want to get to the meat and potatoes of what we were here to talk about, but I just going to finish with Jessica, if you don't mind.
Oh no, let's finish her up.
Because Jesse, somebody said in here Jesse, which I kind of like that. Maybe we should Skippy, Jesse. They're all kind of the same.
On politics in this country, but really there's very little that you can do with this information because it's just not reliable in any kind of way.
And they've been handing out addresses of members of parliament.
Yeah, I saw media reporting yesterday that suggested that they were trying to collect those addresses. So, Parliamentary Protective Services appears to have advised the members of parliament to not come to the office today and to stay home over the weekend as well. So there's a lot of concerns about security in Ottawa at this point.
I mean, this protest hasn't happened yet. It's hard to really reflect on a protest that hasn't happened. But at this point, as it, I imagine it'll get underway this evening or maybe tomorrow. What stands out to you about this gathering compared to other ones in the country in recent years?
There's a couple of things that really stand out for me. I mean, certainly we haven't seen a lot of protest activity in Ottawa over the pandemic. That's been a fairly muted thing. We're used to some pretty large protests, but over the course of the pandemic, they've been much smaller, much less contentious, I'd say. This time around, I think the big thing is just the absolute unknown numbers. There's very little in the way of reliable information in terms of the actual numbers of people and trucks coming into Ottawa. You see some estimates that there are dozens of trucks on the way, then there are some that are tens of thousands. And even, I would say, the police services in Ottawa don't have a good sense of this. They call it a fluid and dynamic situation. So those are some of the issues there. And, we also have some very logistical, very significant.
Oh, God, did I just hear fluid and dynamic? Did I just hear that?
Why, yes, you did.
Oh, no. I just linked the Brian Peckford lawsuit, which is really interesting. Thank you for pointing that out, Susie. Brian Peckford's lawsuit is really good. So the link I left in there for those of you who want to read about it, because it goes into charter infringements. And of course, Brian Peckford is somebody of note to obviously speak upon this fluid and dynamic. My ass.
The one thing I would add before you restart is I'm calling bullshit on something she said, because she said, all these, because of everything going on, these government workers can't come in to go to work. Ottawa is a government town. I know a lot of people that work for the government. None of these people are coming in on the weekend to work. Government workers, 90% do nothing, 10% do all the work, and it's not even that much work. So I know it's a small detail, but I'm calling BS on that. There was no way that they had any plans of doing it. You are muted, sir.
No, I thought I was over this. Okay.
You're fired.
What about working from home? Do they mostly work from home now?
Kind of depends on the time. I think a lot of them are back in the office right now, but yeah, they've spent a good chunk of their time working from home. I know a couple people that have worked for government, and their work when they didn't have to go in basically entailed of sending a few emails every single day and still getting paid their full salary.
Okay, well, great points. That was a wicked pickup. I didn't pick that up.
Just a small thing, but it bugged me when I heard her say it.
Oh no, anything and everything obviously, helps.
Significant logistical problems here in Ottawa. We've just recovered from a really big snowstorm. We actually had more snow last night. Our streets are incredibly narrow. There are 2-foot snowbanks, 3-foot snowbanks in some places. So the idea of a bunch of trucks coming into the downtown core, I just have a really hard time seeing how police are going to be able to preserve emergency vehicle access to the residents that live in this area.
Absolutely. I mean, even without the snow, downtown Ottawa is a difficult, small city to navigate, especially for big trucks. If there are acts of violence on Saturday, what could happen to the people who, A, organized the convoy, whose names are attached to it, or maybe even the ones who helped to fund it?
That's a very interesting question. So a little bit of it depends on what exactly happens and the nuances of how that unfolds. But if some of the individuals who have actually been calling for violence do engage in violence themselves and they've been funded by some individuals or perhaps by the convoy, there are some terrorist financing implications behind that if the activity rises to the level of terrorism, which, violence associated with political protest often meets that threshold in Canada, just based on our criminal code. So there's a number of potential issues there. And I would say that even, GoFundMe is in a bit of a tricky situation there as well, having been the platform for these funds. I think right now they're already in a bit of a reputational situation in that, the convoy is getting a lot of negative press. There's a lot of allegations of racism and anti-Muslim sentiment being thrown at some of the organizers, and now GoFundMe is associated with that as well. So there's a lot of interesting issues at play here.
Gosh, I wonder where all that negative press is coming from. I don't know. It wouldn't happen to be suggestions like prior to the actual protest. When is this recorded? January 28th. It wouldn't happen to be, those kinds of things to keep putting out there that there's violence, that there's January 6s, that there's all this other stuff, rather than the hundreds of thousands of people all across the world who are peaceful, no, this is loony. And you sow the seeds as though ahead of time that there is going to be something bad. They've pulled out all the stops on all of this stuff, and they run from the same playbook. And the agent provocateurs is absolutely something that we're going to talk about. And I mean, in Nova Scotia, you have your agent provocateurs there. They just happen to find hard drives and other things.
Well, even so, is that like you said, they've already sort of sown the seeds for this sort of violence, and they're trying to pull out all the stops to make it look like that's what's going on, even though there hasn't really been any violence. They're pumping up every single little thing that has happened, every single little event that could give it negative press to try and make it seem like it's the act of violence, sort of like the idea that they desecrated the statue of Terry Fox when they put a couple flags on him and a sign.
Okay. Well, you're skipping ahead on me. Don't do that. My brain is kind of ADD as it is. I don't need any more help on that one.
All right, we'll put a pin in that, but I do want to show you one thing real quick.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, let me see. Share screen. Yes, okay. Share, okay. All right. So,
okay.
Where is it? There it is. So I want to show you something here. They mentioned about all these vehicles that were going to be jamming up the hospitals so emergency vehicles can't get here.
Yeah.
Here are all the hospitals in Ottawa. You'll notice that most of them, like where my cursor is with this one, the Hospital St. Vincent, that's downtown right there. All of these hospitals are not located downtown. And even if you go close in and see with the traffic on there, that they've kept the roads open, the major intersections open, so all these vehicles can still get into where these are. So this has been another narrative that they've been pouring for, is that it's going to jam up all the hospitals and people are going to die because they can't get there.
Yep.
None of this are in danger. None of these people are in danger of not getting to the hospital. Because even if like for instance, over here, the Civic Hospital, that's actually one of the main hospitals for any sort of emergency. Not exclusively, but I mean that is one of the main hubs where if you are calling an ambulance, they got to take you to the hospital for something that happened, car crash or whatever. You're more often than not going to be taken to the Civic Hospital right there.
Okay, and where did we get that story from? Way back, that was from Kelowna. And the person who said that, interestingly enough, one of the major people who said that, I can't recall his name off the top of my head. He is an interesting cat if you dig into him. You know, these people are all, there's always, if you scratch beneath the surface, you're going to find a lot of stuff. But if you get that seed out there, oh goodness, you know, somebody was imperiled. To which my understanding is from inside Kelowna that absolutely was not the case. It was just another fake news story. And now they're going to pull that one out. So you got racism, you've got misogyny, you've got
homophobia was in there.
I do have something coming up with homophobia in it. You've got terrorism funding, you've got Ukraine, you've got Russia, you've got like how many
January 6th?
Or is it just the fact that maybe people are tired of trying to be forced to do something which essentially, you know, you could look at in a way, I believe everybody should be able to do whatever they want, but, you know, sticking something into somebody that they don't want. Last time I heard, you know, of that's actually rape. It is. So, I mean, I don't want to be a party to rape. I don't like raping people. Like, that's not what I do. So I don't think anybody else does. I'd rather donate money to something good. Not that I know what all of that is about, but I mean, that seems a lot more, I don't know, sits better than sticking something into somebody that they don't want. That's totally loony.
I mean, oh crap! I think I just had it and then I lost it. I can't believe this. My memory is already crap right now. What was I going to say? Oh, right. So the thing is with this convoy, you know, they're painting them like sort of like they're amazed and confused that all these people are upset like this, that all these people are coming to Ottawa, you know, they're protesting. What are they so upset about? But these people have gone after people's livelihoods. They've tried to get them fired from their jobs so they can't support their family. And in places like Quebec right now, where they're basically banning you from going into the grocery store, now they're trying to starve you out, which doesn't even just affect you, but it affects the rest of your family. If you support a spouse or you have children, they're trying to starve them out too. So it shouldn't be. I know they're still trying to paint the narrative, so they're trying to act confused as why these people are so upset. But they're forcing them to do something they don't want, and they're doing some of the worst repercussions against them when they are not complying. So no wonder these people are upset. They're actually lucky that protesting is all they want to do still to this point. They're only coming in with cars to tell them drop the mandates. I mean, if these were other countries, it probably would have been a lot worse by now.
Yeah, I mean, people are kind of running low on what they can do. I mean, if you say no, that doesn't mean anything. How much can you push people? You carrot and stick constantly with people. Oh, we'll bribe you. You can get a shift off work, a free beer, $100 gift card, enter a lotto, win a free truck, or scholarships, or whatever it is. We'll throw you in jail. We'll put you in camps. I mean, this is really bent, like honestly bent. And if they're going to say, people who are just like, hold on a moment there, I don't know if I feel good, or I need a little bit of time, I have a few questions, or I want to see what happens, or whatever the case is. They have some religious objection or whatever it is, that is not acceptable. And they have specifically said there is no, and many times that there is no exceptions. And big tech is definitely in on all this, suppressing and deleting, and this is not logical, calm, rational thinking. This is something else, which, and again, I always get a little buzzed when people are like, well, it's Trudeau that's doing it. I mean, Christ, these policies have been all around the world, whether it be this issue or other issues in the Western developed world. They're pushed the same narrative. It doesn't matter what politician's in power. It really doesn't matter. It's all the same, which is counter to what, in many cases, what people want. I mean, you have O'Toole out there, and O'Toole is like, well, he wouldn't answer the question for how many days. Well, I told you about that. I had a plan 2 weeks ago. I had a plan 2 weeks ago. I had a plan 2 weeks ago. Well, are you going to answer the question? Well, I had a plan 2 weeks ago, and I brought it up. I mean, really, even the media, which is one and the same, still says, even like, hold on a moment, like, are you going to answer the question anyways? Like, it's like subtly trying to say, of course, people are throwing things at the TV at this point in time, so he has to ask that question, and then you get, oh, I don't know, and then he's going to come out and say, anyway, let's finish this up. I think I've got, I don't know, 10 minutes left, 5-10 minutes. Are you good still?
Let's do it.
All right.
And again, it's worth repeating. I mean, the protest has not happened yet. It very well could be a very peaceful protest. They drive in, never mind the rhetoric that we're hearing from some of the people who are making noise. Is it possible? Would you be surprised if this just went off peacefully?
I wouldn't actually be that surprised if it went off peacefully, because even for a lot of what I would describe as the extremists on the fringes of the movement or involved in the movement, the number of people who actually take action on their extremist ideas is incredibly small. We talk about the idea of people mobilizing to violence, and the number of people who will actually do that, even if they're saying some very extreme things, is really, really small. So, I'm actually quite hopeful that there won't be violence, that everything will go off well, this will be a peaceful protest, that the Ottawa Police Service will be well prepared, and that everything will be fine. So I'm not necessarily of the opinion that this is going to go poorly, but I think that we all kind of need to prepare. I mean, certainly here in Ottawa, we need to prepare for that possibility.
Okay, and just before I let you go, on the topic of GoFundMes, what should people reflect on or think about before you support a GoFundMe such as this one?
I think the number one thing that people need to be aware of is that donations through a site like GoFundMe are entirely at your own risk. So there are probably people who donated to this fundraiser, a week or so ago, before any of these negative allegations started coming out, and it was being pitched very much as like a unity fundraiser. So those people have now donated something that they may or may not want to be associated with, but there's very little that they can do about that. And so it's real, and there's very little accountability for the individuals who are actually getting this money. And this is the kind of thing that people really need to be aware of. It's part of the reason why we have the process.
Accountability? Seriously, this person's going to float accountability? Really? Who's not accountable here? I don't know. You could look at Nova Scotia. The article that the RCMP, you realize that they got challenged. 80 years that they want to keep secrets. So somebody sued them, and now they've knocked it back to 65 years.
Ooh, 65 years.
Who needs to keep secrets if you're not hiding anything? Transparency, my ass.
Who needs to keep secrets? Apparently the RCMP and Pfizer, since they both want to withhold files for about the same amount of time.
That's right. That's how they do this stuff. I mean, it's a lifetime. People who are young enough, they're not going to care when they're that old. And hell, their world is already going to be gone by that point anyway. It won't matter.
It saves them from nasty lawsuits.
The registration of charitable organizations in this country for more accountability.
All right. Jessica, really good to talk to you about this. Thanks so much for your insight.
It was a real pleasure. Thank you.
Well, this year's African Heritage Month officially began last night with a virtual ceremony from the Black.
That's an interesting lead-in. It goes right to that next. I mean, wow.
Police warned about the risk of violence. I think it's horrible. I think what they stand for is wrong, not backed by science, and shouldn't be in our city. This man, one of a few counter-protesters supporting vaccines, shown in recent data by Canada's top doctors to be overwhelmingly safe and prevent COVID-related death. I mean, I got my jacket ripped. I've been called racial and homophobic slurs all day.
Extrémistes qui croient pas dans la science, qui sont souvent misogynes, souvent racistes aussi, c'est un...
I've been called racial and homophobic slurs.
Extrémistes qui croient pas dans la science, qui sont souvent misogynes, souvent racistes aussi, c'est un...
Think about the statement that individual said.
The protester?
Yeah, because it's kind of, there's a problem with that. I thought he's saying he's getting called racial slurs.
Yeah. The fact he's white?
He's white. So I thought it was racist, the people that go there. So I guess they're white supremacists.
Apparently.
Calling other whiteys down. That doesn't make sense. This is Skrillex or whatever that bozo was. It's the same thing. Somehow I don't quite believe what he's saying. He's not, I didn't see that his coat was ripped. Who ripped his coat? Maybe his mom when he washed it? I don't know what's going on here, but that doesn't simply work for me. He got called a racial slur. Who's calling them racial slurs?
You know who is? Those damn whiteys. That's who.
Maybe this is that tweet I put out. Where was that? Here. Everything that is great, sadly, has a glow about it. It will always be great, but one must always be watching closely for the glow and be wary. But people are not their enemy and never have been. Jesus bless Canada and all good free citizens of the world. CSIS, you could be a perfect spy. All you need is a cause. John LeCar, and this is a very good article that they link. It's all about acting as a double agent in your own society. Foul.
Sounds like Soviet Russia.
And of course, during the same interview, you know, they have some filler in there. This is the next person. So he got racial slurs, and this is what comes up after some filler, which they have to throw in to kind of distract. This is
standing for our children and for our grandchildren.
It is wrong to have masks because children can breathe God-given fresh air.
And they say they're not a fringe minority, claiming more Canadians share their view than people think.
You gotta tell the people the truth!
Sean O'Shea, Global News, Ottawa.
Well, frankly, the three people that they had there didn't seem to be of the European ethnicity. Hell of a racist thing going on there. I've seen Native people interviewed. I've seen Black people interviewed, and they're like, you know, no, there's no racism here. That's not what this is about. This is about our children and about our ability to choose or whatever.
I mean, I ran into somebody downtown when I was there who's a South American immigrant who was out there protesting against all the mandates and everything. So, yeah, and there were plenty of people who were non-white that was in the crowd, you know? So it wasn't anything based upon racial lines like they've been trying to claim. I mean, maybe it's out there, which I'm really doubting, but I didn't hear anyone say it had anything to do with racial lines. Everyone was saying the same thing. It's about the mandates. They don't want to be forced the vaccine. They don't want to have to be forced to wear masks. That's really what it's all about, but they still keep pushing this racial narrative over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, nobody's saying, oh, goodness, only those people can have a needle, or it of course, it's just logic. Anybody who's done philosophy must. I can't stand when I see very poor logic being used. There was one last thing. I don't know where I put that. Well, I did have one other thing, but I want to get into what all we were talking about, and specifically what you turned up.
Hey, what are the odds? Look at this, we got a cop here. Morning! How are you? Good, how are you? Do you mind if I just ask you a quick question? I don't know. I think you know. You know what, I just want to, are we behaving? Yeah, you're happy, like there's been no problems? Everything's good, eh? Good. Hey, we appreciate what you're doing out here. Thank you. It can't be easy for you guys either, man. It's busy and it's noisy. It's noisy as hell, yeah. No, tell me about it. You're all going to need earplugs by the time you get home. Yeah. You have a good day, man. Thanks for doing what you're doing, brother.
Well, I don't know. That doesn't really strike me as any of the things I'm hearing. But of course, you know, it's all matter of individual circumstance. But I don't see anything that people are being very respectful. Okay, let's get into some of the stuff. By and large, at least that I've seen, I haven't seen anything other than, what did you turn up about Randy Hillier?
Oh, so I don't know. He didn't link what exactly he was talking about, but hold on, I'll pull it up.
That literally, I think, came out 15 minutes. I was on the phone with Tara, funnily enough, 15 minutes before the stream started. So I don't know if maybe somebody in the chat knows too.
So it's from his Telegram channel.
Okay.
And it was from 7/21, and all he said was breaking false flag operation at an intersection of Albert and Elgin in Ottawa. These are provocateurs, but he didn't link to anything. And I tried to take a quick look online. I was in the middle of making dinner, so I wasn't able to sit down and take a look through, but I didn't see what he was talking about.
Tara, that picture I showed of the fellow up at Bible Hill, I mean, they all got to deal with the agent provocateur firsthand. It's too bad she's in the chat, and I'm sure she must just be like yelling at the screen. If she wants to hop in, I can send her an invite and she can explain all about that. But I mean, that was clearly a plant. And of course, the only time the media really pays attention to all of that is just so that they have an agent provocateur there to say, but because they were expecting it. It didn't work out well for the media camera sitting there. So then, well, that all drifted to the bottom, went into Nova Scotia Legacy, which of course has disappeared now. Anyway, I'm not going to get into Nova Scotia stuff too much, but okay. So what did you want to tackle first? Let's deal with your big one. Should we do
that? Dude with the Confederate flag?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do him. So let's see. Let me pull it up real quick. Oh, where are you? Okay. So there was this guy who was caught on camera. There was a picture of him taken on camera of him having a Confederate flag. Yeah, I got it right here. So I'll share my screen. So I think it was here. Yeah, okay. So this was the picture right here of this guy that was walking around with a Confederate flag. This was right in front of Parliament Hill, and it just seemed to be the perfect time that this photographer here happened to catch a snap of him. And this guy, there's also a video of him as well, in which the crowd is actually calling him out. They're calling out the guy walking around with his Confederate flag, and they're basically booting him out. Which may be... Which one is... No. Did I not have it? I'll find it again. But yeah, so basically, I'll pull it up after this. But this guy... So people were always wondering, who is this guy, like, who's walking around, and how was it that this person just happened to be right here and taking a snapshot of it? Now, it's a little hard to tell just from the distance and everything like that, but it appears that this may possibly be Adam Scotty, who is the Prime Minister's personal photographer.
Oh!
This guy right here. I mean, you can kind of tell that they seem to have the same sort of body type. It looks like he's got sort of an orange beard on there. And yeah, so that may have actually been the Prime Minister's personal photographer who just happened to be there at the right moment to capture the guy walking around with a Confederate flag, which, why would you even have a Confederate flag in Canada? It means nothing up here. That's an American thing to have, you know? Unless you were trying to deliberately make the people of the convoy look bad. And the thing is I'll find this video. I'll find the video and pull it up. But when you actually see the guy with the Confederate flag, he's walking around with a mask on, like a ski mask on, so you can't make out what his face is.
I guess he's really cold. Well, it has been cold, so.
It's been cold, but, you know, people were still out there showing their faces. I mean, some still had, like, scarves or neck warmers on, but this was, from my point of view, was him just trying to cover up exactly who he is. Actually, I got the video right here. I think audio will come through on this.
Did you share the audio?
I think so. Here, I'll tell you what, I'll play it and let me know if you hear it.
No audio.
No audio?
No audio.
Okay, hold on. Let me try something else here. Where are you? Share
Just
screen.
Take that little box. You know.
There we go. Share system audio. So we'll go back and we'll replay this.
Awesome.
Now he's going. Now he's gone. We called him out. He knows. He's going to hold his head in shame now.
So you can even see around that everyone there has their face exposed, but he's the one guy that decided he's going to cover it up and have sunglasses on, so you can't make out anything about him.
And when he's called out, he doesn't, if you're so strong in your beliefs or whatever, which is good. I'm glad. People should be calling these people out, because that's the only way to deal with it. That's what was discussed ahead of time for sure to do with up in Bible Hill, and it didn't work there. When you call them out, or same thing with Ray Epps, fed, and everybody points their fingers. People, because there's lots of cameras and people need to be recording this stuff. They need to be getting these photos. Excellent work. Wow. Do you have more that you want to add on that?
Well, it's mostly just that the fact that one thing is that this has been making the rounds on Twitter, and I know that it's probably been making the rounds on Reddit and Instagram and everything. Yeah, the flag did have a truck on it. So it was basically made especially for this, which means the guy got it made pretty damn quickly, if you ask me, because what do you have, a week in order to get a Confederate flag with a truck on it? But this has been making the rounds, and, you know, people are trying to use it for their narrative that this is a white nationalist movement, this is a racial movement. But everyone's ignoring the fact that this guy was getting kicked out by everyone whenever they saw it, because that wasn't the point of the movement, and everyone was aware of what he was trying to do. Now, I didn't see this guy down when I was down there, because this did take place on the 29th, so I didn't see him when I was down there. But I was more also on the opposite side. So he's standing on the side of the road in front of Parliament Hill, and I was on the opposite side of Wellington, so the opposite sidewalk from there. So it's possible that maybe he had already left by then, but there's only a few pictures of this guy. Like, he was just there to conveniently be shown in this scenario, and then suddenly he's gone. And I didn't happen to notice anyone out there talking about this guy again. So it seems to me like this is the classic sort of agent provocateur that we've been talking about, because his whole point is just to slander the movement. He doesn't really have to do anything. He doesn't have to start any violence or anything like that. Showing up with the Confederate flag has already done the damage that they wanted in this whole situation. It paints the narrative of the white nationalist trucker convoy.
Yes. Which is really key. Okay. Let's go to the War Memorial. Do you want to do that one?
Yeah, let's do the War Memorial.
Okay, so there was a, and they've really gone to great lengths with. Can anybody see your comment? I can see your comment. Look up Facebook Friday 8:05. Maurice, I don't. Can you read that? I can't read.
Oh, one sec.
I'm half blind with a computer. My apologies.
Sorry. Let's see. Can anyone see my comment? Little Gray Cells, please look up on Facebook Friday 8:05. Maurice Landrield.
Do you want to have a quick boo at that while I pull this up?
Facebook Friday 8:05. Maurice Landrield. All right, sounds good. Who is that by? Deborah. Let's see. Just need to copy that. Let me take a look at this.
If you don't mind, I
Yeah, no
appreciate it. I don't have producers and all that wonderful stuff. I have friends. Friends are good.
That's why you keep us around.
That's true. Well, you guys tolerate me. This is why. Okay, so the oops, what am I doing here? The picture of the War Memorial. Where is that? Okay, well, we'll deal with that one too. That's for the next one. Okay, so there was this tweet that came out. They parked on the National War Memorial. None of those spots is a parking space. 2 cars are on the stairs. This is where Corporal Nathan Cirillo, which is interesting, but did find out that that's only part of the year. They after fall, they take it off. Was killed and contains the tomb of the unknown soldier, yet they disrespect it like this. Hashtag disgusting, hashtag all this other stuff. Okay, so if you pull it up on TNI, and you go to the oldest one, it comes up to David Aiken, who's in the media. Okay. And David Aiken, I found in some other things, which probably I will get to do with Nova Scotia. But anyway, at another day, chief political correspondent, Global News. Okay. So he's the first one to put this one out. Now, and they really played this one up too. When I was looking at this picture, I had some issues with it because, well, I traced it back on Google Earth, and you and I talked about that this afternoon. But it's an illogical picture to say that the street is sealed off, to the best of my knowledge, at this point in time when it was issued on this side. They stopped the PMO, I think at the PMO's office. They said they weren't going to let vehicles in front of the PMO's office. Or was it at that point in time?
There were no vehicles right in front of the Prime Minister's office.
Mm-hmm.
They were a little bit further down Wellington Street.
So, okay, so you don't have access to it. On Google Maps, it shows that it's closed off. All right, so one would have to ask, first of all, how did the vehicle get into a restricted area? Okay. Number 2, there seems to be ample parking on the street. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but would one logically, when you could maybe park on the street, which you couldn't seem to, because it was closed off to anybody in the public and trucks and things like that, why would one, even if you could, drive down here, drive all the way around, and choose to park your vehicle on some stairs? Because last I checked, I never wanted to park on stairs.
Why not? Don't you want to destroy the shocks?
Am I just off base here? Or could it just be, I'm just going to float that out there, could it just be that they knew a week ahead of time that there were people coming and the shit was really going to hit the fan? So you better get some defense up and kind of get a few of these things, these photos that you could circulate around. Is that a probable hypothesis?
I think it's definitely probable. Like we were kind of analyzing it a little bit earlier, and the thing that struck us both was the fact it was just the lack of people in this area at the time.
Yeah.
Because even I at one point ended up sort of just across the street from here. I ended up when I started up, not expecting many people have seen it, but I did a quick live stream just showing the crowd. And when I started, I was just off to the side of where the war memorial was, and there were still a ton of people working their way up and down that area. Maybe not as much as in front of Parliament Hill, but there were people on all sides of the street around there. So the fact that they have this photo with next to nobody around is quite suspicious.
Nobody's on the street. There's just no protesters at all. Which doesn't make any logical sense, because there's God knows how many people down there. Of course, nobody wants to say. I mean, if you listen to the media, I think there's probably a couple of people, but because they like to pipe out these stories about just that there's hardly anybody going or whatever. I mean, now I think it's beyond that. They can't really do a lot with it other than kind of tell the stories about, I think there was a protest about some deer. That was one of them. I like the BC story. Did you see that?
Which one?
Let me see here.
BC story.
Yeah, I got to do a little bit of Wayback Machine bullshit. So give me a moment. Okay, so it was BC truckers protest road conditions. Okay. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. Truckers protest dangerous conditions on BC highways. Oh, okay. CBC. Truckers protest dangerous conditions on BC highways.
Oh, that, yeah.
The convoy, Surrey to Vancouver. Oh, okay. So it differs from Sunday's rally about vaccine mandates. Well, that sounds good, right? I mean, they kind of tell you in the little byline. And of course, this is told a week ago. So, you know, stick that out there and then just put it in these little tiny letters that it has different. And I don't even think it goes anything into the article about that. I do want to know who this WCTA organization is and where their stance is, because frankly, I think they're compromised. But if we go to, say, cut or whatever, copy, I can't remember which one this is stuck into. And we go paste. Okay. So let's go back here to, is it going to be, and you can clearly see whenever they do this junk, they're hiding stuff. Last updated, usually they're always changing something in the article, and it's not to anybody's benefit. Oh, sorry. Okay, that's not going to work. Well, that's great. Let's try archive.is.
Actually, that's just what I was about to check out.
I know it's in one of the two. Actually,
I'll do Wayback Machine. You do archive.is.
Okay. Oops. What am I doing? I don't know why I'm on the screen there by myself. Okay, so this is the same article, even though it has a different title. It is the same article. I could go throw it in again. Actually, I probably should, just to so nobody thinks I'm playing funny games. So it's archive.is, and then search for snapshots, and I'll just, so nobody ever thinks I'm doing something silly, because I don't do those things. Paste. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Truckers protest dangerous BC conditions, right? That's the article. Okay, but if you go back here, it's actually called Hundreds Join Truckers Convoy. Hundreds joined Truckers Convoy to protest dangerous conditions on BC highways. If you go through the article, and I'll link it in the chat, there's no mention anywhere in there of anything to do with the fact that there's quite a major event on that. Did I notice the number on the article? Oh, yes, I do. There's no mention of it. Okay, so, okay, you know, I don't know. Maybe they're just bad. I think there's Global. Okay, so we've got Global here also doing it. It gets worse and worse every year. Truckers rally, BC, go away. I don't want your stuff. In BC, citing unsafe highway conditions. And of course, we have the updated again 3 hours later. And but you know, I'm sure by this point that they've already pointed it out in which is a separate thing I'll get into. But if we go to the very bottom of the article, it has a slight disclaimer here. Saturday's rally was separate from the unrelated Freedom Convoy slated to roll out of British Columbia en route to Ottawa, protesting COVID-19 vaccine mandate. Okay, very good that you would schedule road conditions protest at around the same time. I'm like almost having it on the BC mosque time. But anyway, yeah, I'm not going to touch that. Okay, so let's go with this. Let's copy that and go over to this one. I believe is in archive. Okay, so
yeah, I posted the links over there.
oh, you did?
Yeah, in the YouTube chat, I did post it as well.
Oh, okay, thank you for that. You're taking all my thunder here, buddy.
I'm doing what I can for you.
Okay, so here we go. With no update at this point in time. It gets worse and worse every year. BC trucks, blah blah blah. Okay, and so the last line of this was Saturday's rally separate from unrelated freedom convoy slated. Okay, so let's just go to the bottom of this article. It's kind of like Darren's interview appearing and disappearing. And all the Nova Scotia people are aware of all this crap now. It says the ministry followed up with problem contractors, and its newest contracts include enhanced specifications that require more and more proactive report, blah, 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 blah. Well, again, that's slightly different than this. And they do this shit constantly. I find even with the videos of like in the media, what they'll do is they float on YouTube, they'll float a video for a little bit. So you'll keep hearing the same message over and over, but then they go back and they delete it. So then when you go and try and find it, it's gone. But they keep showing the same image over and over and over again, which is quite malicious. But of course, who owns them all?
Well, it's an effective strategy. The power of repetition is an amazing way of controlling what people think.
Did you want to do the super spicy flag thing?
Super spicy flag? Let's do it. All right, let's see.
Do you have the links to that?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll let you do it, and I'll blame it all on you.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah, spicy.
I have no problem taking the blame, Seamus.
It's your fault, man.
Why does everyone always blame everything on me? All right, let's see it here. What was this? Oh, that was something else. Second. All right. So we already talked once about we already spoke once about one flag that was shown, the Confederate flag. Well, not to be outdone, somebody decided to share another flag as well.
Oh my, flags! They have to stop with this.
Cat, shut up. Sorry. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there he is. I will throw something at you.
I feel like I just inherited a cat. It sounds like it's almost in the same room.
He's loud. All right, so here was the other flag that apparently was flying in the area. So this wasn't right in front of Parliament. This was a little bit up the road from the Chateau Laurier, but apparently there was just someone walking around with a swastika flag. A nice, clean, crisp, pristine swastika flag. It almost looks like it just came out of the packaging.
Yes, and how many individuals are there?
What did we say? About 6 of them?
6.
About 6 people, yeah.
So yeah, no, it's just absolutely overflowing there with people. Now you had a second picture you were able to track down. Is that's
Yeah, so just going on Google and going down into Street View, we were able to track that there's a second photo of them, and this one is over in the Chateau Laurier. We were able to sort of figure out exactly which point they are. They're making their way up the stairs, but they were trying to this point mingle in with the crowd as much as possible. That was the other thing about it for me, was that when it was originally taken, there's sort of just a few of them. They're not really with the crowd, and they made their way all the way over. So they made sure that they were right there with everyone else. Where was it? I think it was over here. Yeah, there's video of them as they got mixed in with everyone else. So that way they could appear as if they're part of the part of the convoy and part of the movement. And I think it's just convenient.
But
that,
this is just in that small area, right?
Yeah. So
when we were able to track it down, do you have the Google Earth open? Because I don't.
Yeah. Let's see. I was over here. So where's my street view? So it was somewhere around here, I think.
Yes. There you
where
go.
Are you? So yeah, it should just be a little bit. Oh, I may have overshot it actually. Yeah, I am.
You're almost as bad at driving as I am. Oh, we're getting close.
Where is it? There we go. So we can kind of see from the original photo, we've got the park benches and the railing right there. And you can kind of see that this is the area it was taken from. I mean, even so, you can kind of tell because the park, the railing over here kind of has that double horizontal bar that runs across it, and it's the same way. So this was, how do I get out of street view? So this was at Majors Hill Park up here where they were. And just south of there is where we have the Chateau Laurier. So we were probably somewhere around right there. Yeah, so we were right here, and they basically worked their way back towards the chateau.
Kind of in behind everything.
Yeah.
They're down the street quite a ways.
A decent amount anyway. And they worked their way all the way back until, it was about right here. You can kind of see that this is the staircase, and this was like the window that they were walking up behind. This photo.
Yeah.
Right there until I think they got up into this section right here, just above the bridge there. And I think that's where we had the video of them waving the flag. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Yeah, and this is where we ended up having them ride the flag. So they started off with no one around and worked their way into the crowd. And again, I think I already said it once, but it's convenient that it's the two big symbols that a lot of people show when it comes to the idea of white nationalism. White supremacy is the Confederate flag and the Nazi flag because of it. And they both just so happen to find their way into Canada.
Well, there's stars that appear too. There are stars that appear too, which I'm not sure quite how that goes into the mix. Like, these things don't frankly belong. Did you so the photo of the flag, the earliest one that I could find was a montage that somebody dropped on Reddit. I closed all my windows, which is why my computer probably looks so clean. I think I had a crash or something, but somebody was saying in the chat, where was that? I won't repeat it aloud, but where was that? Something about good. Oh, yeah, I won't say it, but this is what I miss about doing streams together. It's like you and I, it's just weaponized autism. I don't understand why this doesn't occur more in this country. I've never quite got that one, but anyway, it's all for another day, I suppose.
Well, I think once you peek behind the curtain a little bit, then you really start looking at every single little detail, because there's things that I'll see that you didn't see, and there's things that you will see that I didn't see. So we work well together like this.
Well, this is why, really good people, especially if you're friends and you guys know each other and stuff like that, then it works out well. And that was kind of all the thinking behind Nova Scotia. But then, the sad part is, just like everything else, they're going to get involved at some point, and that's all gets compromised to some level, which I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but it's just a reality that we all have to accept. Okay, so this was the first place that I could trace it back to. Now, it's not to say that this is I've got this correct, but this was the only place that I could find it, which happened at 1:39 Mountain Time, January 29th. So yesterday at 3:30 local, 3:39:12. And the interesting thing is that it is a montage of pictures rather than just a singular picture. It is a bunch of pictures. So we've got BC rigs greeted by supporters in Vaughan Mills rally. And of course, we have the introduction of Info Wars. We had the lady on the lawn who got a bunch of airtime on Global, I believe it was, maybe a few others, with the Trump flag and saying that Trump, I'm not sure how Trump has anything to do with Canada.
Yeah.
We had the flag, the first picture. This was the first picture from the park. We also had this one, which you said, is this the one in front of CBC?
I don't think this picture specifically was taken in front of CBC, but I believe that this truck did stop in front of CBC. I believe someone said that they saw this truck parked in front of the CBC building over on, I think it's Queen Street.
Oh, so it just happened to just park right in front of the CBC building.
It seems that way.
Wow, that's convenient, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I said about it. It's like you just happen to pull up right in front of the news station, just so they could happen to know that you're driving around with a Confederate flag.
Well, you wouldn't want them to have to work for anything, especially if we're paying them to destroy us. I don't know. And then you had, of course, the Terry Fox thing, which I don't know. I don't know how many people have issues with them. Like how many different images are you even sewing together here? Let's look at this logically. You've got InfoWars, you've got Trump, you've got organization here. Okay, whatever. Very not frowned upon in society. It's very frowned upon. I think if I say the word, it's a spicy word, so I'm not even going to repeat it. And you've got the Confederate flag, and you've got Terry here with the upside down flag. Now, I don't think these people probably with the spicy flag, I don't think that they got too far along down the road. I think somebody probably would have disarmed them of said flag.
Or at least kick them out.
Yeah, I don't think that would work well. I think we'd probably have fed type thing going down.
Oh, absolutely.
Which at least I hope would happen. But none of these issues, though they all have been played to their max and constantly are, really have anything to do with sticking needles into people's arms. Do they?
They don't, and this is almost what you could call a bigot bingo right here. The people just happen to have absolutely all the key points here of what would get people riled up. People who don't like Trump. InfoWars has, even if it's not a proper reputation for bigotry, that's them there. And then, of course, the spicy flag, the Confederate flag, defaming a statue of a well-known and loved Canadian. That was the only thing combined. Bigot bingo right there.
I like it. Bigot bingo. So who is the person who posted this? Well, he's an interesting person too. Now, I don't know if he is the first person to put on it, and I don't really want to dox them, but I mean, they call themselves, what is it? Das Space Asians. I'm not very good with Reddit either, but they talk about interesting things. They say, they put up the picture, the bigot bingo. I like that. The bigot bingo. I'm going to have to try and remember that. Awesome. Your sense of humor is good. Okay. They say, I'm a historian and I have colleagues who work with with individuals that like Hugo Boss uniforms. And then they continue on as here somebody says, what an aptly put headline, being a respiratory therapist, I need to ask such and such and such, and I think it's somebody who died or something. And they say, my condolences for your loss. I also work for the healthcare system as a telephone interviewer in Quebec. Oh, okay. So they're a historian and they work a telephone interviewer for healthcare system. And it just kind of goes from there. I'm a master's in history. Again, I'm not looking down upon anybody. It's just interesting to note that then they talk about how they work for the government. Well, I'll change jobs from a government phone agent. So they work for the government. And going to work, hopefully to work in history professor, researcher. Of course, researcher gets money from where? Generally from taxpayers. You know, would this bigot bingo help them on the way?
I would say it would. They look like they're shoo-in for a job at anti-hate.
Anti-hate, which is an interesting group. I don't know if we should touch on that one.
I leave that in your hands.
Yeah, I don't want to go too far, but they are an interesting group. They've been featured in the media in to do with the Ottawa stuff. There was an interview with themselves, and who's the other person? The chair of it. No, I haven't been here in a long time. Oh, okay. So it's still kind of the same. I know that they have certain portions of their website locked, which I always found rather interesting. Anti-hate. Okay, so Freedom Convoy is nothing but a vehicle for the far right. You know, again, this is another trope that they like, the far right. They love to trot this one out all the time. Meaning just the people in general. Oh, isn't this interesting? Okay. Now, so they've got a lot of different stuff in here. If you go to the bottom of this page, and of course, I'll be more than happy to link this. I've seen this elsewhere in places. They're drumming this one up for everybody's consumption. Right here in the corner, funded by the Government of Canada. Our work is made possible in part thanks to a grant from the Anti-Racism Action Plan. So it's not as though these people don't just kind of have a horse in this race also.
Oh, no. Our money's going to fund this so they can tell us about how terrible people we are. Isn't it great?
If we don't comply with exactly what they want, as in if you ask questions, then I guess you belong in the bigot bingo. Even though, where do we put the people who, like Global was interviewing, or CTV or interviewing, or any the Métis fellow, or the several black individuals have seen the East Indian? Because frankly, who are the majority of truck drivers? A lot of them are new immigrants. There's a big, huge sponsorship. It's all part of the Soros balls of the private sponsorship program with the trucking. And they do training, and there's huge grants handed out to large companies to train people of different ethnicities that are new to our country.
Well, I mean, one of my jobs is working in working in a warehouse is part of it, but I do a lot of the unloading and even some of the loading for there. And yeah, a lot of the truck drivers that do come in, a lot of them are Indian, or at least from that same sort of area, maybe like Sri Lankan or something like that, or Pakistani. But yeah, a lot of the truck drivers, they're immigrants to Canada.
Yeah, and I'm not looking down upon them, but that is like a training program that is heavily utilized in this private sponsorship fund, which is that all that Soros stuff we talked about years ago.
Yep.
I know none of my videos are around anymore, so I just
shame.
have to. Well, that's the way it is, I guess. I don't know. YouTube doesn't like me, so if I want to have anything, then I can't. So I guess they just don't. They don't like common sense, is what they don't like. You know.
You can even tell by the type of videos they push. I mean, I'm not trying to get too off topic or anything like that, but a lot of the people that they do push are just very shallow people that focus on the most insignificant things, and those are the ones that end up with millions of views. But so,
yeah, if one was looking for views, I guess you would need to monetize your channel, and then if you monetize your channel, I suppose then you make videos about cats or something or other. You make videos about, if you make a video about, I've been watching social blading people who make videos about the trucker stuff. Holy shit, man.
I can imagine.
I think you're already on the doo-doo list, so it doesn't matter. It was like when I did the video about Vegas. I got 400 views, and anybody I knew in the YouTube circles, they got like, I don't know, 30, 40,000 views and tons of subscribers. But if you make videos about the trucking stuff right now, I've watched people's channels just absolutely explode.
Yeah, I could believe it. I mean, if it's something that people are interested in, then yeah, they will absolutely get a lot of views off this, which, I mean, I know some people don't really have their heart into it. They're sort of just, they do it because they're going to get views out of it. But
yeah,
it's the nature of the game.
I have heard a few people like that, or that they're trying to profiteer. Never quite understood profiteering off of, because I know where your heart is, I know where my heart is, and I know where a lot of people in here heart is. I've never understood profiteering off of things that frankly is just good human nature, but I don't know.
Unfortunately, that's just, a lot of people are shallow these days, and they don't really care too much about real issues. They care about how popular it makes them. They care about how much money they can make off it. It is unfortunate, but I don't have a problem if someone monetizes their channel, or they have like Streamlabs set up to make some money off what they do. But you can really tell who are the ones that, even if they have this set up, who cares and who's just doing it to get their views, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's a very fine edge to walk. I mean, that's how things get corrupted, is with money. Money is the biggest corrupter of all. It's a tool. You can use it, but you can abuse it, and it's been used on this world, and so many people amongst, somebody mentioned here, where was that? Sorry, I'm missing all these great comments always. This is why I wish in a way I did have a producer, because then maybe I could have a background and stuff. Somebody put in here about blackmail, and blackmail is a really huge one. I'm not gonna, but that absolutely is another piece to the puzzle.
Well, I mean, whatever it was, like a week or something ago when we were talking, that's sort of what I was bringing up about the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing, is there were a number of people who got caught in these situations with Jeffrey Epstein who were not legitimately pedophiles themselves, but, he brought a girl to them, basically gives this girl to them. Turns out she's underage. They didn't know. And he's got the whole thing on camera, and now he's got him in his pocket. Now, obviously, there were a lot of people who were pedophiles that he was involved with, but there were still some that were caught in that blackmail. And it seems like in order to get anywhere in a lot of modern day politics, especially in Western countries, but I'm sure it's not too different in other countries if you go in the Middle East and elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't get very far if they don't have something to blackmail you with, because a lot of them, they just want you to play ball. And if they don't have anything that they can really put they can really blackmail you with, or if it's something you don't care about, then they'll find ways to get you out really quickly.
Well, I mean, this whole thing that everybody else is going through is in a similar type vein, right? I mean, we're really seeing the disgusting underbelly of how all of this world has been working for a long time, carrot and stick, carrot and stick. And if you're not going to go along, yeah, honey trap people, you know, they're going to pull out any way that they can to control anybody. And, you know, it may have been more so with politicians in past, because yeah, you're not going to rise to the top, I don't think, in anything, pretty much corporate internet tech garbage, any of this stuff, or politics, unless you go along with the plan, sell your soul.
Which is kind of it's a little ironic that a lot of the politicians that can't be blackmailed like that are the people who are just have really boring lives, like the people who go to work and come home and don't do anything, because you don't have anything on them. They basically just go and spend time with their friends or family, and then they work in between. So you're not catching them doing drugs. You're not catching them with hookers or anything like that. So it's ironic, but a lot of these people don't make it very far in this sort of political circle. They'll find some way to get them out. And it's hard for good people to get out ahead in politics because of not even necessarily stuff they have to do, although probably stuff they have to do, but even the stuff they're exposed to every single day. For somebody who has a good heart and a good moral compass, that'll just drive them insane if they're forced to be around this stuff all day.
Absolutely. When I was going back, I was actually looking for, this is how lame I am with tech. I was looking for I was talking to Tara on the phone at the time. I was looking for the title page that I had on the thumbnail, because I can't really make thumbnails, right? I can't do anything really properly at all, but I think maybe I can kind of cook eggs. When I was going back, I found so I put in JMSO, and did a search, and I came across a bunch of videos, of course, because we've done videos over the years, lots of them, and one of them that I found was all to do with it was weaponized autism back very early COVID stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was good. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Heart Island. Yeah, the weaponized autism was coming out, and you and I are just like, okay, gotta nip. I remember talking to you on the phone about this, right when it started to roll out, and I'm like, okay, well, as soon as the cases started to pop up, I'm like, okay, we need to set files aside. And I know we were actually literally setting files aside of all of the victims of early on, because then you could trace through their obituaries and find out then that they were old and that they had underlying conditions. And
I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, no,
I remember that.
The video is good. The video is really good. Yeah, the one from March 4th, I think, was that YouTube didn't like that one at all, but I don't know if you were there for that one. But yeah, I should, one of these days, maybe I should see if I can. Let's see, where is that? Was that this one?
It seems very.
Oh no, that's.
So it seemed.
Sorry, give me one more.
I hate my voice on record.
I can't stand to watch anything I do. I don't know how anybody else can either.
It's just, to me, my voice doesn't sound like that, and I hear it played back to me, and I'm just thinking, is that really what I sound like? Jesus.
Don't worry, it's the beard you got to be worried about. Like, do something about that.
What, grow it out a little longer?
I don't know. Where was this?
Right down to the chest. Let's go right. We'll grow it right to the chest.
I'm trying to find when that was.
Although one of these days I'm going to come stream with you and I'm going to be clean shaven.
Yeah, are you?
Yeah, one of these days. I like to freak people out every now and then and just shave it completely off.
Well,
I got a baby face.
That sort of thing. I'm like, I could just watch it as I work, and
oh, that's a
instead
great
of
shirt.
every 10 minutes having to stop.
Got your Hawaiian shirt on.
Yeah, well, I was like, okay, you know, I'm just gonna wear something just to fucking piss people off and make them laugh, right?
It's a great freeze frame, by the way.
I don't know what we're talking about on this one. Oh,
I saw Early Life.
Early Life? I don't know. I don't think that was the one. Eisner. Who's Eisner?
Diet Lime Green.
Diet Lime Green. Where's what?
Lorraine. She said Diet Lime Green. Braided. Linda said braid it with beads. I think she's talking about the beard.
Oh, well, I still. Do you remember these? I paid like $100 and some odd just because they made me laugh. They're classic, man.
You paid $100 for those?
I think I paid like 150 for them.
Jesus.
It made me laugh, and I think I had some stupid money to blow or something. I don't know where did I have that? And I was watching it. It was lawsuit filed. More problems. Sit down with Josh. Oh. Yeah.
I mean, the whole world is
this quote unquote mass graves.
The mass graves. Okay.
The mass graves
on Potter's Field. That's Potter's Field. Over 1 million people have been buried there. In New York history, inmates from Rikers Island for ever and a day have been picked.
This is all about Hart Island. Do you remember that?
It's starting to come back to me.
Global was showing those, they were flying over top and showing all these, you know, oh, the bodies are overflowing in New York City, so they have to bury them on Hart Island and, you know, blah, 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 blah. Well, it turned out Hart Island, of course, was just where they bury anybody. Each marker indicates it's been there for over 150 years, burying people there. You know, just going through the people dying of asthma, you know, the old folks' homes. There's like lots of these videos that we did early on were really good. Oh, there's a word you can't say on YouTube. Lots about, you know, tracing through who's saying what, of course. Oh, Kaufman. Okay. And yeah, these nurses who die of COVID, but not really. How coronavirus can spread on your shoes and the 15 feet distance. They were trying to change all that stuff. And these things are all like, I mean, I'm glad I have records of this stuff, you know, to go back and look for. You lost your stuff on your computer, eh?
Yeah, whatever it was, like a year ago or a little bit more, when I got a virus and had to do a whole reset, I lost a lot of the work I had, which was depressing.
Yeah, I swear I would be probably beside myself. Like, yeah, I mean, all of these nursing homes. Oh, that guy Cottrell. Gosh, I mean, and then we start getting into 89% of people mishandling. What is this? Review found 89% of people with coronavirus previous infection control violations range from mishandling, highly contagious. I mean, you know, the nursing homes, of course, Ontario exploded. And then they were talking about the food shortages back then.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just, for going through this right now too, it's amazing how much of this stuff that they were talking about back then that they never bring up anymore. Like the spreading coronavirus on your shoes, I remember they were saying that they could stay on surfaces for, what was it, 3 or 4 hours or something like that. Just the amount of stuff that they were claiming back then that has now been debunked.
LA helicopters downtown COVID. Oh, I think they were flying around showing, what was this? Black Hawk helicopters land in Denver. Oh, they were bringing in, and then I got into all the military stuff.
Yeah, that's right, eh?
Microsoft publishes and then takes down commercial with Spirit Cooker, Marina Abramovic. Oh, balls on all that, right? Movement of military vehicles. And they were trying to say, oh, no. And I'm like, the conversations we have are good. One of these days, you should put this stuff out, because troops heading to CFB Borden to prep for COVID-19 battle, all the pop-up tents. And I don't know if it was this one. There was one that I got into when Bahamas. I just stumbled into an article about the Bahamas, and how they had a curfew. And that was the first. Yeah, that was the first place that had a curfew and, quote, lockdown. And it was only for the weekend and in the evenings. And nobody could go out and do anything. And it was the Bahamas. And so I brought up the article, and I don't think really anybody had seen it. And I'm like, what's the deal here? Like, does the virus only come out during the weekend and at nighttime? Like, I'm not understanding. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. Maybe we're going to be seeing lockdowns here. I think we're going to be seeing lockdowns. No, you guys are crazy. You guys are crazy.
If only we knew then what we knew now, that as long as you're sitting down, the virus cannot get you.
Here we go. Yeah, right here. Arrests on Grand Bahamas over holiday weekend. There was the start of the stick for the COVU. Where did it? Where was that? Right here. I don't think I put the audio on this, so.
I don't even understand why the curfews were even a thing and still are a thing. I mean, most people are at home at night anyway, so I don't see how this is supposed to stop the spread.
How is it? Doesn't. None of it works, man.
Oh, it doesn't. No.
When I went to go and stay somewhere, I've never really. I guess maybe I'm either read too much or I'm a fool and made a lot of bad mistakes, but I just never really quite grasped any of it. So I remember I stayed somewhere, and they had a policy about masks. So that was like one of and it was a medical emergency for somebody. So I did need to stay there. So I was like, okay, I appreciate that. That and working with old people, I was like, yeah, I'll wear a mask then, but that's it. And so anyways, I remember this one day I went outside and I took, I thought I'd forgotten something out in the car. And so they had this policy that you had to wear the mask inside. Okay. And also, whenever you came or left the building, you had to wash your hands immediately. Oh, okay. So I walked out the door and realized that I'd left my keys. So I came right back inside. And I walked by the same lady, and she's like, that I just said goodbye to. And then she said, well, you haven't washed your hands. And I was like, well, no, I was just outside for a moment. And she's like, well, you have to, that's the rules. You have to wash your hands. And I said, okay. So I went and washed my hands, right? And then I turned off the tap. And then I went to the front desk right after, which was right around the corner. And I said, I just want to let you know that your sink, the handle on it, it's dirty. And she's like, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, let me see. I went outside. I came back in. My hands are now contaminated. So I touched the sink to turn it on, which contaminated the handle. I then washed my hands and touched the contaminated handle to turn it off. So now my hands are contaminated again, and your sink is too. So you better clean that up. She did not take well to that. I said, that's fine. I'll be staying elsewhere. It's quite all right. I don't mind paying somewhere else. But I mean, yeah, Looney Tunes. None of this makes any sense. Never did. Now, let's see.
Things I was going to, put as a logical question, the Bahamas. I don't know if you heard about that, but the Bahamas.
No.
Bahamas. Curfew. Weekend. Health alert, the Bahamas nationwide lockdown. Who's this from? OSAC.gov. I don't know what OSAC.gov is. United States Department Overseas Security Advisory Council. This would be an interesting website to plug through. Health alert, the Bahamas nationwide lockdown. On April 6th, the Prime Minister of Bahamas announced the full lockdown orders to all the Bahamas as follows. From 9 p.m. Wednesday, April 8th until 5 a.m. Tuesday, April 14th. From 9 p.m. Friday, April 17th to 5 a.m. Monday, April 20th. From 9 p.m. Friday, April 24th to 5 a.m. Monday, April 27th. Now, during these lockdown periods, virtually all business and service providers will be closed, including grocery stores. Now, I took a real exception to this thing because I'm like, does the virus stop going? It made me think of that stupid song from when I was a kid, the Freaks Come Out at Night. But it was like, does the virus come out on the weekends only? Like that is simply illogical. Please don't go out on the weekend, but it's okay during the other times.
I don't know. The only thing I can think about it is that more people tend to go out on weekends and run errands, so maybe that's what they mean. But there's a lot of illogical things that they're doing right now. I mean, I just saw a picture today that was showing like those X's on the ground, like stand here. It was for like a series of ATMs.
Right.
And they did do the 6 feet from the ATM and back. But the point was, is you had about half a foot between each dot. So like if you were standing next to each other, you were standing practically shoulder to shoulder. So there's plenty of illogical things that they're doing with this whole situation. I mean, that and along with what we were kind of covering a few days ago about how the social distancing really doesn't seem to do anything. It's just a theory. And yet they're advocating that everyone follow this theory as if it's actually going to solve something.
Yes, like we're really making headway by the things that if we participate in this kind of stuff, rather than stand up and say, no. Arrests on Grand Bahama over the holiday weekend. Police in Grand Bahama made several arrests on the holiday weekend. The first incident happened Friday shortly after 7. Officers of the mobile unit arrested a man who was found in the area of a major hardware store. He was arrested for breach of the curfew and for possession of instruments for burglary. In a second incident on Sunday, shortly after 5 p.m., officers of the Northeastern Division, while on mobile patrol, saw a gray Chevy HHR vehicle while driving in the area of Indian
East Indian Man Road. Officers signaled the vehicle to stop and arrested the woman who was driving along with 2 male passengers. One of them who was carrying a number of Bahamian documents, including passports and voter cards. He was unable to get satisfaction. Voter cards? Like, really? Okay. This doesn't sound at all suspicious, but at the next line, account of why he had them. All 3 were arrested for breach of curfew and unlawful possession. You see, this is where these narratives came from. I mean, you know?
I mean, all these narratives now is just, with everything that's gone on in the last few years and everything that has turned out to be untrue, it's ridiculous to go back to whatever it was 2 years ago and just go over these all again.
Oh yeah. No, I may actually enjoy watching these videos again, because there's usually a lot of truth that's spoken quite early on in many of the things that we talk about. And yeah.
I'm a little amazed that it didn't get your channel nuked with everything that we were talking about, because they still do it, but they were especially doing it early on. If you were questioning the narrative at all or pulling up anything that was contrary to it, that would completely throw you off of it.
There was one video that one day, if I ever get good with my technical skills, let me see here. I mean, I made recordings of some of this shit, and it was they absolutely DDoSed me. Did I tell you about that? They went ballistic on me. On my computer, they destroyed my LAN card.
Really?
Mid-streaming, yep. And I was like recording it because I had full internet in the rest of my house. It's just this one place I didn't, and I was like, whoa. And my phone was doing all of this spooky shit, man. It was doing stuff all on its own. You can hear me. I'm like in the other room, but the most clear demonstration of it was the fact that, I think it'll take me forever to find it, but that the like the on a Samsung, when you do screen record and you hit record, you don't see any of the buttons. It doesn't record any of the buttons. Those don't appear in the actual recording.
Right.
But this thing was recording. I really do need to find it. I just don't know where it was. And it was, I mean, it was the most fucked up thing ever. It was showing the symbols on the screen. The counter was resetting. It was flipping on its own. It would start and stop on its own. And I'm like, what in the hell? And I'm not even in the room. I'm not even in the room. They were really mad because I kept talking about the old people and the conditions, and that I had a visit with somebody who was a paramedic, and that there was only one old folks home, it seemed like, in every city that got hit, which turned out to be pretty much true. And of course, who owns the vast majority of those old folks' homes?
I can remember us having this conversation.
Yeah, I've never done a video on it. It's in my many boxes of things to do. But Rivera old folks homes, I don't know what they call themselves, retirement. They own many old folks homes across the world. Now it's not just them, but Rivera is pretty key. And so Rivera is a Canadian company that provides accommodation care services for seniors. It owns and operates retirement residence and long-term care facilities. It's publicly traded on the Toronto Stock Exchange, but it formerly was. But it was acquired by the Public Sector Pension Investment Board in 2007. Who's the Public Sector Pension Board?
It invests funds for the pension plans of public service, the Canadian Armed Forces, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and Reserve Force. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, and this is many of the, the whole Ontario tragedy and all the people who were getting starved and stuff. And like here in Calgary, and the paramedic that I ran into, and I said to him, I'm very thankful for your service and stuff like that. And I said, I hope you're doing okay, because it must be really risky going into, this one old folks home here in Calgary. And he said, those are codes. He gave me the codes. I read it in the video. And I was like, well, I don't know what that means. And he said, well, we just don't go. And I was just like, you should have seen, like, I can still feel it. I almost well up thinking about it. And I said to him, you mean you leave people there to die? And he said, yeah, we don't go. We're not too supposed to. And I was like, I couldn't say anything. I didn't know what to say. Like, you leave people to die.
Well, it's just so contrary for what they're supposed to do. I mean, we've always held up paramedics, nurses, doctors, and them to be the ones to make us better. So when you hear that that all they're doing is just nothing, so that way these people die, especially when they need them the most. Like, old folks and kids are the most vulnerable people in society. Yep. So when you're not willing to defend the most vulnerable people in society, it says quite a lot about the direction we've gone.
But old folks also have something wonderful that I've always appreciated, and I'm sure many of you do, and you do, Adrian, is I loved old people. I always have, like, since I was a little kid. I loved hanging out with my grandma and learning, because the wisdom that old people have, I mean, hello, they've already traveled almost every road we'll travel. That's like a free textbook to life. All you have to do is sit and listen. So would you really want somebody who knows, how to deal with a lot of things, people who stand up to things? Would you really want them staying around?
Absolutely. I mean, my grandfather is, I've always held him up as like one of the smartest people I ever know. And I always just used to love, even to today, like, I'll still love just sitting down and listening to him when he's talking about something, because I learned quite a lot from it. And there's plenty of other ones too, plenty of other old folks that have just told me some stuff I never knew anything about. It's kind of cool to sit there and actually listen to them talk sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. But every generation has its conflict, right? And funnily enough, the older generations are the ones who are more proactive and tolerate shit a lot less than young people. So true. Would it, I mean, I'm going very tinfoily, but would it behoove powers that be to have old people die off? They can't impart their wisdom then. You crush them emotionally, just like you do with children, who then are brainwashed into a system. The detriments to what we have done is unbelievable. I think it's a 20 point, during COVID, there has been a 20 point decrease in IQ of children born during COVID. That is fucking unbelievable. It is in the low 70s now. Hello? That's borderline something.
I hadn't heard that statistic, but yeah. I can believe it, because the one thing consistently that I've heard from parents is that they are very upset about how their children's education has been since COVID ended up hitting. And, I know that there's a lot of crap that's pushed through in schools, especially the public school system. but they're still learning valuable skills. Like math is a big one. I still, it's still a good thing to learn. And I'm not surprised that this is what has ended up happening to a lot of kids. Even some parents I've talked to have told me that throughout the last year, there were so much shutdowns and, kids going online where they barely learned anything, and they were still basically just passed on to the next grade, that these kids are actually going to be like 2 or 3 years behind where they should be when this is all done, when they're back to school full time and ready to go. There's going to be so many skills and so many things that they didn't learn, and they're just going to be walking into whatever it is, a new high school without the skills necessary for them to actually be able to succeed. And they're probably going to see a huge dropout rate with a lot of these kids.
And I mean, it's all the same things that we were talking about. I don't think we talked about the IQ thing. Maybe the schools did come up, but definitely the suicides, the drugs, the domestic violence, the online predatory behaviors, the depression amongst people, children. Yeah, no, I mean, all those things we were saying, all of those things back right at the beginning. And I'm like, boop.
Well, one thing that I actually found particularly disturbing was I'm trying to remember. He's a journalist for is it Anthony Fury, journalist for the Toronto Sun?
Yes, I believe so.
I remember a while, like a year or two ago, he posted a link to a website, and this website was for kids in Ontario. They can just post their artwork there, just, if they wanted to just get it out there. And the one thing he was talking about in this post on Twitter is that, he was disturbing the type of artwork that was starting to come out. And so I checked it out, and it was, it was all sorts of abstract artwork. Like I remember one specifically where it's got like this girl, she's like grooming herself in the mirror with a big smile on her face, but her reflection is bawling her eyes out. There's where the head is like sort of where they remove half the head so you can see into the mind.
Yes.
And like just the disturbing imagery in there. And it was just chock full of all these kids that were just doing all this disturbing and depressing artwork because of everything that had ended up happening since they had started to shut them down and lock them in and not get them to go see their friends. Yeah. In fact, I saw something a week ago or 2 weeks ago that was saying that the kids that had suffered the most from depression and self-harm and suicide attempts had been those whose parents had been basically isolated them. So the parents that kind of still let their kids be kids, they were affected by this, but not nearly as bad as the ones who said you can't see family, you can't see friends, you can't go outside or do any of this. Those are the ones where we saw a lot of the drug addiction. We saw a lot of the suicide attempts and just mental illness hitting them. It's it was depressing to see.
It is. I do know this one firsthand, and it's really sad. It's really sad. Like, why would you do that? Anybody in their right good conscience ever do that? And when you begin to see, maybe I can understand you're afraid, because of course, what has it been? What has it been for decades now? Pumping fear porn. It's nonstop. Just absolute trauma that they rain down on people. And in the last 2 years, holy Toledo. And then you get no reprieve. None. Like I again, one of the things we were talking about, and I'm like, you know what? We should just not talk about this anymore. The more play you give, the worse it is, because all it's going to be is people talking around. That's all they can talk about. Well, what the hell happened? It's all we do talk about. COVID this, COVID that, blah, blah, blah. I can't go to here. I can't do that. My kids can't play hockey. There was police arrested somebody because they were doing something or other, or got a ticket. And, it's just, this is all, once you start to see what quality. I remember when I was at one of the old folks' homes that I used to volunteer at, and I was like, I'd watch these old people and they would deteriorate. They wouldn't go out even out of their apartments to go and visit with their friends because they would take the chairs out of the common room. So then they couldn't even really walk around because some of them were short of breath and stuff, and they kind of relied on the chair. And but they had nowhere to sit to socialize. They couldn't go and visit each other in each other's rooms. And you'd see like literally these people start to fall apart over the months. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And they would say things like, I'm really glad that, you know, you come and see me and stuff. And I said, oh, of course I'm going to come see you. I want to help you, you know, if I can. And then it got to a stage. And I remember that was really uplifting. I went to see one old lady who I really liked. Well, I liked them all. And she said, you know what? I have no quality of life left anymore anyway. I have so little time left, probably. What am I going to do? Lock myself away? If something's going to kill me, then okay. But at least I want to have a halfway decent time. At least I want to have a little bit of enjoyment in my life. And she's like, I turn on the news, all I hear is shit, basically. She didn't speak like that, because of course, and I don't speak like that in front of elderly people generally, but, well, somebody in here is going to say different. But anyway, that's just but that's maybe just because I'm very comfortable with that person. But yeah, you know, and you could see like there was a dramatic improvement even just with her saying that. She was happy.
Well, I mean, for someone like the elderly too, I mean, when dementia is so prominent in a lot of people these days anyway, the social interaction is actually something that helps slow it down. So they were probably doing more harm than good that way. But even so, like I've been in those retirement homes. They are goddamn depressing.
They are.
Like people don't even almost never look happy in there. So when they took away the last form of conversation that these people can have, I could just imagine what that did to their mental state. I mean, a lot of them I know, like their families have kind of left them in there so they don't see them much anymore, because it's not uncommon for people to just drop their elderly in there and then maybe once a year go visit them, but they're not doing it on a regular basis. So that feels probably pretty lonely for them, and maybe even a bit of a betrayal. But at least they have some friends in there that they can interact with, and that was taken away from them as well.
Yeah.
That's if it wasn't already sad enough what they have to deal with, I can just imagine how it made a lot of them feel.
Oh, the communal bookcase at one old folks home I went to, the communal bookcase, they put cellophane and duct tape all over it. Like, what the hell, man? You can't go and get a book to read. You couldn't sit in the lobby and have a donut with your friends, even though the chairs were like, you know, I don't know, 15 feet apart anyways to begin with. No, you have to take them out. And I was like, no, you know, and there's going to be people who watch this. Absolutely. And I think it's important for them to get their stories out, because there's a lot of people walking around with a lot of pain of people who weren't allowed to see their loved ones. I'm just looking at a name right now. I can think of some certain people I know who, you know, didn't get to see their loved one and died. Like, that is fucking horrific, man. Horrific.
Oh, no kidding. I mean, I even am having that with my one set of grandparents right now, because they are really wrapped up in this whole COVID thing. You know, they're scared. They're scared about this whole thing. So like, I actually have not been able to see them more or less since COVID started. Like, my parents still see them a little bit from time to time, but the fact that I'm unvaccinated actually makes them nervous. You know, the TV's told them that they think that I'm going to get them sick and I could potentially kill them. It even
alienated you. to them.
Yeah, it did. And I mean, I don't want to, I'm not in any way shit talking my grandparents. They're good people. And like, I don't want to make it sound like I'm trying to come down on them or anything like that. But it even was at the point where after Nora was born, my mother had to stop by, pick her up, and then take her over to her place. So that way my grandparents could meet their great granddaughter. Cause that's how scared they are. That's how scared the news has made them. And I don't hold it against them because I know it's them. Like it's what has been pounded in their head over and over. And my grandmother, she's getting really frail, and she's one of the ones I'm worried about I may not get to see before she passes. But it doesn't make me upset at them. It makes me upset at the news. It makes me upset at the governments and all these organizations that have pushed this through, that families can't even see each other anymore because because you got one set that is just so scared of everything going on that they don't even want to be around their family or their friends right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's awful. And there always has been doctors who have spoken out, good doctors, and just asked questions. Nobody's saying anything definitive. Like, I never would say definitively I know, because if you say that, then you're an ignoramus, as my grandma would say. But you can put evidence out, and if you have evidence, furnish it. And if a lot of doctors now, they're going back to really simplistic things that we all know are just common sense. Like, I don't know, you eat healthy food and you go out in the sun and you have good mental health because you visit with your friends and you do activities that make you happy, because you need a balance between negativity and some relaxation from away from this world, without being inundated with propaganda, Netflix or whatever it is that's sowing images silently, like just planting a garden or something like that, and having some exercise, and not smoking. I'm not being a hypocrite. I mean, I smoke like a fish. So, I don't think fish smoke, but like a chimney, okay. But
that's maybe a better example.
Yeah, so that's a poor analogy. Anyway, but just taking care of yourself, and mental health is fundamental to that. I mean, these doctors are saying the same things that your grandparents did to you when you were a kid. Wipe your bum. Probably, eat some mud. It's okay. Like, it's okay, No. Everybody's terrified of everything. Drugs. You got to take drugs. You have to take. I remember laughing with Ted when we lived together a long, long time ago, and I was like, "Oh, hello, you." You're just going to run away anyway. You'd see these ads on TV for drugs, and then one of the side effects would be you'd have to take a drug to counteract the drug. And one of them I remember was for some gastrointestinal stuff, and it said the side effects might be gastrointestinal problems. I'm like, well, what the fuck did you take the pill for to begin with?
I remember there was one where the side effects was death. Like, a possible side effect was you could die from taking this drug. But yeah, no, I think another ones you're talking about, like on American TV, where they always had that, they always had like the people and like happily spending time with their family, but 2/3 of the commercial was just going over the side effects and consulting your doctor. I know exactly the ones you're talking about.
Yeah.
Hell, I don't even like taking Tylenol for like a headache or something like that. Like, I mean, not that that's that bad, but I just mean, like, I'm just a guy that if I can stay away from the drugs, I'm going to stay away from the drugs.
I agree. I find that, and I remember I asked Tara to put out a question for me on Facebook about certain things quite a long time ago, about Is anybody else experiencing headaches, nausea, vertigo, and of course, Rage had vertigo, and I get headaches all the time. And, you know, and I'm not a puss. I don't think I'm not really a puss. I'm not quite as tough as my old granddad, but I have to take. I find I am taking a hell of a lot more Tylenol and shit, and I'm like, why the fuck am I taking a lot of Tylenol? Why am I getting headaches all the time? It's stupid. Oh, you remember that? Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people seem to have a lot of the same problems. You know, is that Kovu or is that something else going around? I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to get all tinfoily, but there's something. The world is in a bad way, and I really think that I'm glad to see that people are being good people and just simply saying they don't want to live like this anymore, and nor should they have to live like this anymore. And they have the ability to choose things. Stress. Yeah, stress. I bet you it is. Stress causes so many problems, physical problems. Why? Anyway, looks like some people are crashing out. Still 73 in here, fairly impressive. Good. It's a good welcome back to you, sir. Look at my numbers. I say that you're going to come on, and boom, there's lots of people here. I think there were 90 some odd people. I don't get that.
Well, what can I say? I just bring the comedy that you don't bring to this channel there, Seamus. I'm not that funny.
Must be the ginger.
It must be the ginger. That's
no,
okay.
No, I think it's the wicked research, right? So
I think it's the wee baby Nora.
The what?
The wee baby Nora.
Oh yes. Well, see, I mean, positivity. There's something to be positive about. So I'm just so super stoked.
No, it's good to be doing this with you again. I miss doing this. I was away. It's the beard, said that mafioso. It's the beard.
It's the beard.
Yeah, I miss doing this with you, and I missed interacting with everyone as well. I stayed away longer than I meant to, so it's kind of nice to be back doing this with you all.
I did link your channel, of course. I didn't put it in the notes like a dumbass I am.
Oh, it's okay. My channel is PewDiePie.
Oh,
PewDiePie.
Really?
Yeah, that's right.
Didn't he get banned like a long time ago?
I'm not sure if he ever got banned, but I know he's had some things going on. Like, actually, I did see a quick short of him today on YouTube, where YouTube on Twitter reached out saying, like, if you could only watch one content creator, who would it be? And everyone was just replying with PewDiePie, and they just kept ignoring him. So it'd be like a bunch of responses saying PewDiePie, and then one person would post another content creator, and then YouTube would respond to that person. But they were ignoring everything that all the people that said PewDiePie on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So-
the YouTube censorship is pretty awesome.
They don't like him no more.
No, I don't think they like you. I know they don't like me.
Yeah, they don't like either of us. We are not popular on this platform.
They don't like Tara. I don't visit with a terrible number of YouTube people, but I guess I'm just kind of shy that way or something. But
This basically is my circle, the ones you just named.
Yeah.
I know a couple more and stuff, and sometimes I kind of interact with them, but yeah.
Yeah, it's good to just, you don't need tons of friends or anything. Good friends is what's really counts. Good for mental health. There we go.
Well, besides, people get to know me, and then they decide they don't want to be my friend anymore.
Fuck off, man. I'm going to come down there and bug you.
Whatever you want. Come join the convoy.
Yeah, well, I know, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know there's a couple of things I would be interested in researching with you. and I've mentioned them to you. So maybe you might see some more collaborative work between Adrian and myself. Possibly. I don't know.
Let's do it.
Yeah?
I'm in.
You're in?
I'm in. Let's do it.
I know. I think I already know that you were researching. I just say it. You're like, okay, yeah, boom.
I know what you're talking about. Let's do it.
All right. Well, it's 3 hours and it's like 20 to 1 your time. Oh my God. Or no,
20 to 12.
Sorry, 20 to 12. 20 to 12. See, I think in Nova Scotia time now.
Uh-oh. You've been corrupted, sir.
Oh yeah, no, 3 hours. I've actually scheduled YouTube on whatever this help stream thing crap is, and I've scheduled it wrong because I think it's like it's Nova Scotia time. All right, yeah, it's bedtime.
You're in the West, but you're actually secretly in Eastern at heart.
I don't know. Yeah, I'd love to go down there. I've never been. It's beautiful. Looks like a beautiful place and lots of great people there. There's some interesting people down there too, but I suppose there's interesting people everywhere.
Yeah, you know what? I haven't been there either, but my parents and my brother have been. My brother was down there for university years ago, and yeah, from what I hear, it is quite a nice place.
Yeah.
Road trip.
All
New
right.
convoy. We're going out east.
I think it would be a good time. I think we'd have a good time. Just don't. I'm not going to tell anybody where we are because I think somebody might come and do me in or something.
Here's what we do: we lock down all the ferries onto Nova Scotia Island, or PEI Island. Sorry,
PEI Island.
Yeah, all the ferries that are around there that go to PEI, we lock them down.
Okay, and don't protest on the side of the highway. Bad idea.
We wouldn't want to get arrested for protesting.
I think you get like, what is it? The fines, $20,000, because of course that's directed at people who drive trucks. So even though it would be individual, you know that they would go after their company truck.
Oh, undoubtedly.
Owner operator. So then they're going to get a hit with a $20,000 fine. Anyway, I could babble with you all. We used to talk on the phone like all the time. I really missed all the chats over the last while, but I'm so glad for you, and yeah, and your family. We'll just leave it at that. Your family. I'm very happy for you.
Well, thank you, sir. Oh, and in case anyone's wondering, the streams, this is not different from the phone calls that you and I have. This is exactly how our phone calls go to.
Yeah.
Deep in research, then we're usually just chit-chatting for a little bit. Next thing we know, it's like, oh, it's been 3 hours. It's been 4 hours.
Yeah. No, it's good times. It's good times. Well, sometimes I think the videos, usually there's a little bit more lined up because we've had a chance to look at things. Like usually we just do research, a lot of research on the phone, but you bring a lot to the table to begin with, so it makes it a hell of a lot easier.
We have like 10-hour chats just to do like 2 hours on a live stream. There's a lot of prep for this, guys.
Oh, I don't think it's that bad.
No, it's not.
I just listen carefully. That's all. All right.
That's all you can do.
We will chat soon.
All right. Absolutely, man. And then
all
we'll
right. Thanks.
Lab soon.
Take care. God bless everyone. God bless the 23.